Oh my gosh, he put Ben on the back foot. Let's go. Let's go. Oh, okay. That's good. Oh, that's good.
In this country right now, 300.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Jubilee done did it again. They did the Charlie Kirk one, and now they done did it again. They did Ben Shapiro. Uh-oh. A lot of Hasanabi heads in this one. A lot of Hasanabi heads in this one. Okay? Buckle in, folks. I haven't seen this in a minute, and ever since I said, I wonder what this is up to, he's been up to no good. He has been up to no good, folks. Thoughts on Jubilee being inherently reactionary? Why do you pay it any mind? Because this video literally has 1.5 million views in 7 hours. And it will probably get like 10 million views. And people will watch it and people will go, epic debate content. I love it. Epic ownage from Ben Shapiro.
100,000 minors. We have no idea where they are.
Oh, that is nonsense.
That is not nonsense.
No, it is. They are not lost. They're released to their sponsors who have to go through background checks. You have no idea what you're talking about.
They don't.
You think 300,000 minors are lost in America? Are you crazy?
I'm saying that. Why, hello there. I'm Ben Shapiro, and I'm co-founder of The Daily Wire and host of The Ben Shapiro Show. And today, I'm surrounded by 25 Kamala Harris supporters. My first claim is Kamala Harris's attempt to put DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion at the center of her policies is destructive.
This is so stupid. Like, really? That's the first thing you wanted to debate? Pathetic. Deeply unserious. Okay? What a deeply unserious man this is. God, Republicans are so wild, dude. They got nothing going on. They are literally reveling in their own unimaginable amounts of victories. They have dominated every state legislature at this point. They have. That's why they have to like make up new shit to be mad about, bro. I swear to God.
How's it going, dude?
Morning. Gosh.
Where'd I get one of those hats?
Oh, my boy made it for me.
Nice.
So yeah, you know, first of all, we're standing on stolen indigenous Tongva land, right? This is
Where do I begin? So, land acknowledgements are the hollowest, shallowest thing that you can do. I'm sorry. I'm sure that there's some indigenous people in this chat that will tell me that I'm wrong or something, but it is like peak radlib bullshit. Okay? That's number one. And I'll give you an example. Imagine 25 years from now, an Israeli debating whatever the Ben Shapiro of Israel is at that moment. And he starts off this by saying, we are having this debate on stolen Palestinian land, on top of what was once known as the Jubilee refugee camp. How does that make you feel? Does that right the wrongs of the past? Does that do anything? Because the reason why I'm using this as an example is because it's happening right now, so you can get a better understanding, a better sense of what the is going on. Okay? Anyway, optically speaking, Ben is shocked by someone so liberalized that they are doing a land acknowledgement as soon as it started. I'm not going to lie, I would have hit that red flag so fast my arm would snap out of his socket. Like, my arm would have shot up so fast, there would be Like, people would not have even seen me put it up. Like, they'd be like, what the happened? Actually, I would have blasted that shit faster when I saw the hat. This isn't a rad lib take. You are simply incorrect. As a black American who doesn't have immigrant lineage, I think it's important that there's historical accuracy. You are out of your depth. It's okay to be wrong. You're right. Okay. As a black American, let me ask you this question. Would you rather have reparations, or would you rather have someone, before every conversation starts with you, go, I acknowledge the historic wrongs that have occurred under chattel slavery? What do you think is better? Why are they mutually exclusive? It's mutually exclusive because one is done at the behest of not doing the other. No land back, just land acknowledgements. That's it. It's literally it. It's fake concern that is hyper individualized, demonstrated by radlibs to be like, I'm woke. That's all it is. You don't get land back, you get land acknowledgements. You don't get reparations, you get an acknowledgement of, does an acknowledgement precede action? Yeah, not in this situation, it does not. I'm not centering the wants and needs of my oppressor. The truth is important, and justice is a function of truth. Okay. Just saying.
Are you moving anytime soon?
No, but
Why?
the fact of the matter is I'm born and raised California. We're talking about diversity, equity, and vision. We should.
So why don't
we absolutely should.
You could do it today, right now.
Great. So we should, but that's not my point here. The point is you're saying that diversity, equity, inclusion is destructive.
Yes.
Right. So when we look at this country...
Or you don't get the land back, but we'll name a helicopter after you. Except, yeah, but like natives do love that shit. Like, that is... everything that I've seen, I know that there's the academic indigenous population, and then there's like the broader perspective of the indigenous population. And like, while the academic indigenous population might have an issue with like utilizing like former tribes that were ethnically cleansed or their weapons as in terms of like naming the American military's weapons, that from what I understand, the broader population loves that shit. Okay. And what you hear, especially in a community like this one, is going to be very different than like, it's also the same principle behind like using the term Indian rather than Native American. I don't do it because I'm white and I'm Turkish on top of that. So I'm not even like, fully, I mean, I'm a Turkish American, but like most Native Americans I talk to are, they say Indian. I won't, because I think it's still, you got to talk to your indigenous followers more. Okay. I think that my indigenous followers are in the minority overall, is what I'm saying. I don't think it's the same as like land acknowledgements, though.
That is built off the backs of slavery and white supremacy, taking the lead, building the roots and foundations of everything that you know and believe today. It's ironic to see a black and Indian woman who's rising up to the occasion against society, pushing them down. And this isn't just the fact that they're black and Indian and a woman. It's the fact that
Can you give me an example of how society pushed Kamala Harris down, please?
The demographic of people is what I'm talking about.
Well, yeah, but you suggested that Kamala Harris is being pushed down by society.
I'm not suggesting that, no.
I mean, that's...
So
okay,
my
boss,
point is saying that...
I'm sorry, you've been voted out by the majority. Please return to your seat.
Good to meet you. Whoa. Man.
Hey, Ben.
Hey, how's it going?
Nice to meet you. So my opening question to you would be, why is that a destructive thing? Why is that a bad thing when...
Most Native American people do not feel comfortable with Indian because it's literally not what they are by definition. I will never make an argument to call Native Americans Indian. I don't do that anyway. I feel like some of you guys are Canadian as well, where it's different in Canada in terms of fake altruistic land acknowledgements, but also in terms of like government subsidies or even like recognizing or being more cognizant of the harm that was done, while also simultaneously still in many meaningful systemic ways doing that harm. Anyway, we're not going to have this conversation. You guys are right. Okay. I'm sorry. I apologize. Please stop yelling at me. This is a 2-hour video.
For a long time in this country, I feel personally that white men have had an advantage over some communities that have been discriminated against. So why would you say that that is a destructive thing and not, making up for lost time?
Sure. So let me explain what I mean by diversity, equity, and inclusion. So the basic theory of diversity, equity, and inclusion is spelled out by people like Richard Delgado, who's sort of one of the founders of, for example, critical race theory, is that essentially disparities equal discrimination. That if you see any disparity between one group in the United States and another.
Dude, that's not true. I'm an enrolled member, and when I'm doing rifle education, I'm Indian. But when I talk in front of a council, I'm First Nation. But in reality, Anishinaabe, please, is liberal shit. See, when someone says First Nation, I'm like, that's a Canadian right there. That's someone living on occupied Canadian soil. Canadians say First Nation. Canadians say First Nation and also Indigenous. Guys, you misunderstood what I was saying, by the way. I wasn't saying that like I call Native Americans Indian or that you should say that or you should do that. That's not what I was saying at all. I explicitly am mentioning that I don't do that. I say Native American or I say Indigenous. I'm simply stating I'm in between Canadian soil and American occupied soil. I'm related to Canadians and American Ojibways. Anyway.
Group in the United States, that is the result of some exterior discrimination. It is not the result of individuals within that group acting differently. It's not the result of cultural differences. It's not the result of aggregated differences within individuals within that group. And that to me is a failure of logic. It also is destructive in that it separates group from group, particularly in the United States, on the basis of race, which is not the best way of actually bringing Americans together or forming policy that is the best for all Americans.
Do you think there's room for nuance, perhaps, though? Like, yeah, maybe not everybody, but there certainly has been a large sect of people that has had it harder because of the color of their skin or their sexuality or their gender identity. Could you acknowledge that maybe there's, a middle ground there where...
I hate this. I don't care about this. Like, Kamala Harris' attempt to put DI at the center of her policies is destructive is so stupid. She doesn't do that. As a matter of fact, it's one of the best things that she hasn't done. And DEI, in the way that Ben understands it or Ben uses it, is a substitute for like what it actually isn't anyway. Like he wants to say identity politics. Just say identity politics, which Kamala Harris doesn't do anyway. I hate this argument. I hate this entire conversation. It's so stupid. It's so unproductive. Okay? Yeah, her only DEI is she's putting a Republican in her cabinet. Exactly. It's just like I want to even skip this topic, even though they spent 22 minutes on it. Jesus Christ. I'm certain that this will also be a false premise. Kamala Harris's extreme pro-abortion stance is morally indefensible. Let's go. This is good. Now we're getting to the good shit. This DEI nonsense, okay? Dean does really good on it. Oh, I heard she ate, by the way. That's the Hasanabi head. She was at the USC meetup.
Yeah, like a jackrabbit. Thank you, guys. I appreciate that.
I want to see what she says.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, too. So, I kind of want to shift the conversation about DEI a little bit away
Hassan,
from
that's
culture,
what I wanted to say, but my legs are short and I couldn't reach the chair. No, these Jubilee videos are like almost entirely comprised of Hasanabi heads now. I don't know if it's because I watched too many Jubilee videos and you guys were like, oh, I want to be on it. Okay. Or what happened, but like so many of you go on these videos now.
Like a helpful conversation to have. And I really want to talk more about representation. So 1 in 5 Americans currently is Hispanic. This country, like it or not, is not a homogenous country. We are a very diverse country. Do you not think that our legislators should be representative of the overall population?
I don't see a way that you can have a quote-unquote representative legislature with 435 members of Congress in a country of 340 million people, because you can divvy that up however you want. It's not by race. You could do it by sex. You could do it by gender. You could do it by sexual orientation. How exactly do you decide what is quote-unquote the representative group? And also, I don't believe that individuals ought to be represented based.
Here's how you do it. Abolish gerrymandering and stop redistricting. That's literally one of the easiest ways you could do that. Okay. Number one, why is it that black and brown people are always seemingly not in areas where they are statistically viable to make a change in terms of who they vote for? Why do they all get shoved into one district and then the remainder is like packaged into multiple other districts where they cannot actually swing an election? Perhaps that's one of those ways that the, demographic representation does not play itself out in Congress. Now, of course, Ben knows that, right? Ben knows that already. He knows that shit. He is taking that shit for granted. This is something that I need you guys to understand. Ben is very good at taking advantage of the oppressive structures that we all take for granted. We don't even think about it, okay? That's it. That's how he does it. He can always point to, oh, well, how difficult would this be? Hoping that the other person on the other side doesn't know enough to be like, well, one way that this doesn't play itself out is obviously through redistricting, which to Ben, he would immediately go, well, Democrats do it too. And it's like, okay, that's fine. Democrats shouldn't be able to do it either. You know what I mean?
Based on group identity. So, for example, I'm Jewish. Jews are actually overrepresented in Congress. I don't think that we ought to decide exactly how many people in Congress are Jewish based on the Jewish population of the country. I think that's actually a pretty silly way to do representation.
Well, we don't have to do it systematically, but fundamentally, there is an issue with the fact that we are not fully represented. Like, the entire population is not represented.
I mean,
we have
that's not
never
true.
had a black female president. I still have to pay taxes.
We've never had a
the
Jewish
whole
president. Who
concept is
cares?
no taxation without. Well, we have had a white male president. We've had like 45 of them.
Whether Jews count as white or not has been sort of an object of debate for quite a while.
Actually, you do.
We do. Okay.
You do.
So, I mean, it depends according to whom. And that's a pretty recent.
Ben, you can't be constantly talking about America as a Judeo-Christian nation and then be like, Jews are not considered white. Like, come on, dude. Come on, dude. Come on, dude. What happened? America used to be a Christian nation. Now, everybody says it's a Judeo-Christian nation. No, you're white. I'm white. You're white. Get the out of here.
Development. Okay, so
Basically, everyone. It's a religion.
Judaism.
Do you
is also
not
ethnicity.
agree that you were a white man?
I mean, I think that it depends on the context in which you're discussing.
That's a great question. She'd be like, can you honest to God say that you're a POC right now? That's a great question. Be like, Ben, can you tell us, are you a person of color?
It.
So what are you, Ben? Are you not a white guy?
I mean, I'm a man of Jewish ethnicity, which is sometimes grouped with white and sometimes not. I mean, that's the more accurate way to put it. But
oh my gosh, she put Ben on the back foot. Let's go. Let's go. Oh, okay. That's good. Oh, that's good.
when
what
we're
else would
talking
you be
about
grouped
with Jews who are
No, don't flag her. Don't flag her. She's slaying.
which is an ethnicity. I mean,
So
yeah.
you're not white at all.
I mean, again, it depends who's doing the grouping and how. I've seen Jews grouped with white and Jews grouped with not white. Are we just pretending that doesn't exist? That's a reality. However, as far as your generalized point, which is that we are supposed to identify people by group identity, that if we don't have a black female president, somehow black females have not been represented. So Barack Obama was in no way representative of black females because he's not a female.
No,
He's
he
black.
was. He was representative,
So
but
he was
that's
half
the point.
representative. How do you do the math on this? And why?
You shouldn't do the math on it completely statistically, but the fact
You shouldn't
is
do the math
there
on it
is
at all. You should
clearly
treat people as individuals.
underrepresented.
You should treat people as individuals.
Well, if you don't even want Kamala Harris to attempt to create DEI initiatives in office, then there isn't even going to be a conversation about it.
I mean, I don't think there ought to be a conversation about why we ought to be represented by race or by sex. I think that we are each individual people with individual ideas. And if that person represents my ideas, I don't care what sex, race, or sexual orientation they are.
I mean,
Sorry, Vid, talking about vets and how no one cares about them as a vet. This is true. I wasn't even in combat, and even now I kind of feel ashamed to say I'm in the military. And there are definitely hogs in there, and I feel very outcasted being black and an avid viewer of you, lol. God damn, dude. My fan channels work so goddamn fast. It's crazy. That's crazy. Like, I said that not even 5 hours ago. Okay? And there's plenty of other people like you in here. Also, I mean, it's fine. Don't be ashamed of your past experiences as long as you're, like I said, you are not who you used to be. Okay? That is crazy, dude. You know who works harder than the American military? The Hasanabi Clips Industrial Complex. Okay? They are working harder than the goddamn Marine Corps, let me tell you. Okay? That's crazy. They were like, they cracked their knuckles and they waited for that shit to be over so they could blast it.
to an extent, yes.
No,
but
entirely.
there is an issue with the lack of empathy in office. We need to be able to empathize and legislate for the people that are living in this country.
I was not
Do you
aware,
not believe that?
I was not aware that empathy is relegated to particular race solidarity.
No, but I mean, it's easier to be empathetic towards people whose experiences you can fundamentally understand based on your identity. Like, do you not believe that people have an inherent bias?
So first of all, I'm
based
not
on
sure.
identity?
I mean, we can start with the empathy itself. I'm not sure that empathy is always the best basis for actual public policy, because when you have group solidarity and empathy based on group solidarity, you're going to attempt to actually benefit the group with whom you have solidarity. So that actually cuts against
But
generalized
that's like a
public
fundamental
policy.
thing that just exists, which is why
Wait, but like Ben, once again, taking advantage of the environment that like group solidarity is already occurring, and it's occurring for white men. But once again, that's just how things are. So if you're a conservative, you can always just point to how things are and then go, what are you going to do? It's common sense. The advantages are so firmly on your side. If you want to do commentary on the conservative side, it's crazy. You could just like literally point to how things are and just go, it's good. And we need more of it. And if it's bad, it's because it's not going the way that it should be. We should do more of it. We should always go back to a time when it was good.
Why we need representation in government. Okay, cute. Thank you.
Wow, he got it this time. All right, nice. Good to see you. How are you doing?
Doing all right. How are you, Ben?
You know, it's been
All right, liberal Spider-Man. Let's see what you got today. I hope he cooks his ass, dude.
Yeah, it's a little bit of like an interesting setting being surrounded by 20 people that disagree with you.
I mean, the truth is I grew up in LA and then I went to law school in Cambridge. So I'm
you
a little
got
used to it. It's not, yeah.
Yeah, why don't you say he went to law school at Cambridge? Yeah, he went to Harvard, dog. Just say it. What's so embarrassing about that?
Anyways, let's talk about DEI. Do you think that Trump should have won 2016? I'll wrap it in. It's conceptually relevant. I'll demonstrate the relevance.
Okay, sounds good. By what measure? Do I think he did win or do I think he should have won?
Do you think he should have won?
I mean, yes, I'm happy that he won. If the question is, am I happy that he won? I'm happy that he won.
Okay. Well, I'd say that Trump won 2016 because
By the way, I did not vote for either candidate in 2016. That's a decision made in retrospect.
Awesome. So I think that Trump won 2016 because of a modality of DEI. Essentially, what I'd say is the Electoral College, right, strives for inclusion of smaller states with lower populations by overrepresenting them in the overall vote.
I love this argument so much. It's so dumb, but it very quickly gets to the heart of how silly the DEI shit is. The Electoral College's DEI is the best. Was it him or was it the other white debate kid on TikTok that first cooked that shit up? When I heard it the first time, I was like, damn, that's you're chefing. Okay. Excellent. I don't know which one of them came up with it, but great one. Great bar. Okay.
Like you could correct me if I'm wrong or the SAN fact checkers can. I'm pretty sure that over the last 25 to 30 years, Republicans have won the presidency given the Electoral College, not given the overall popular vote. So if you're against DEI, if you don't want inclusion on the basis of race, inclusion on the basis of gender, or even what you're saying earlier, we could even say inclusion on the basis of class. Why do you want inclusion on the basis of population, rural areas, states,
We should actually use a better example. Why don't you just ask if I believe in the U.S. Senate? Right?
The U.S. Senate, this would also apply to the U.S. Senate.
Right. Okay. So let's use the U.S. Senate because the U.S. Senate is actually even
It's the greatest deliberative body in the world.
more unrepresentative of the general population than the Electoral College, which is at least a rough approximation.
Yeah, if it wasn't for the U.S. Senate, we wouldn't care about states like Montana. It's like we don't. That's why it's a nuclear dump, okay? That's why the nuclear silos are there, okay? So that they could be the nuclear sponge. We don't. We literally don't. Don't act like you do. Shut the up.
It'd just be funnier to hear you say that you shouldn't have voted for Trump in 2016. But we could talk about this.
That's a different subject, but yeah. I'm very happy that he won, even though I didn't vote for him. I mean, we can talk about Trump later. Yeah. We've already done a bit. Well, I'm sure we'll do more. As far as the idea that every elected body has to be elected based on population as opposed to based on the area of geographic distribution or the states that actually pre-existed the federal government. Okay, the way that the Constitution of the United States was created was as a contract between sovereign states, which is one of the reasons why, for example, you have a United States Senate as opposed to just a House of Representatives. So is that a form of DEI? That seems like a stretch to me. What? The kind of DEI that I'm talking about specifically would be separating human beings based on inherent characteristics, like, for example, race, as opposed to suggesting that the United States Senate, which is obviously
Oh, he doesn't like it. He doesn't like it when you use the Electoral College. He's like, no, I want DEI to be what I think it is. Okay? I want DEI to be what I think it is. You can't make the argument about diversity, equity, and inclusion for anything else. It just means black people. That's why I love this line of argumentation. It directly fits the bill, and it's just like it's like a good thing to just throw in the face of Republicans because they immediately have to turn around and be like, well, I think it's just black people. I'm saying black people when I say DEI.
representative of the general population. In many
seemingly
ways.
my point is
somehow
that
bad. That's a check and balance, right?
Well, seemingly my point is that this is another modality of DEI. I've like no problem with you explaining to me, right, why the Senate or the Electoral College would be given the U.S. Constitution and like some contractual agreement that they had between the sovereign states. That's fine. But what I'd say is that your claim here would just imply that the Constitution upholds DEI within our electoral process.
Why are you ragging on what he sounds like? Disagree all day, but why shit on something he can't control? Because he sounds like a nerd, okay? That's why. I'm having fun with it. Shut the up, bitch. You sound like a nerd too. Excuse me, that's an ad hominem. Shut up, bitch. We're having fun with it. We're watching a silly ass Jubilee video, okay? He's a ginormous piece of shit. You understand? Virtually every single thing that comes out of his mouth is bile. I'm sorry that it hurts your little fifis because Ben Shapiro might not hear you making a nerd voice when talking about him, but your friend who is a nerd will. He's acting like you're making fun of a disability. Yeah.
Processes.
If your claim is
so, do you think that the Constitution upholds DEI in the sense of including smaller states with less representative populations?
That is a true stretch of the meaning of DEI. But I get your point. I mean, if the idea is that the only thing that is not pure DEI in a democratic context would be sort of popularly represented votes, then I think you can make the case that basically you should get rid of every representative institution. We should go to a pure democracy because...
Well, I'm not making a case for what we should replace it with. I'm making the case that it would uphold DEI. We could talk about, right, what other systems should function in the case of the Electoral College or in the case of the Senate, but that's a completely different conversation than are these systems upholding DEI.
So again, I think that you're definitionally stretching DEI. If DEI is the basic idea that all disparities equal discrimination and must be rectified by government interventionism, which is sort of the definition, then stretching that to mean the Electoral College seems like you're going pretty far afield to defend.
No, he's not. No, he's not. He's using the appropriate language when he says the Electoral College or the Senate, if you want to talk about that, is a modality of diversity, equity, and inclusion. It is directly designed to create some sense of equity and inclusion from states that are significantly smaller. Okay? That's it. The problem here is that you either don't know what DEI means or you know exactly what it means, but you're using it in a different way because you're using it as a substitute for non-white, non-man. Usually just a substitute for black, but in this case, Ben Shapiro is an equal opportunity hater for the most part. So maybe he means like non-white male. That's it. It's the same exact reason why we never say that like Tim Walz is a DEI pig. We never said Joe Biden is a DEI pig, right? They are.
And a very broad concept as specifically badly applied.
Wait, 1 second. I don't think that we need to say that DEI is equivalent to disparities equal discrimination. We could just see that DEI is like a qualm for disparities in general, right? And what we apply here in this certain modality when we're talking about the Electoral College, when we're talking about the Senate, is we're trying to qualm the disparities of the lack of population in rural areas. We're trying to qualm the disparities of smaller states compared to larger states. And seemingly, you haven't really given me a response to this apart from calling it a stretch, but I do appreciate you for
No, I mean, it seems to me like the argument that you're making is that in order for there to be calm and sort of conciliation inside the United States, particular racial groups have to be given particular benefits. Okay, well, because that was the argument with regard to the states in the United States, right? When the Constitution was formed, the way that you came to an actual agreement in the Constitutional Convention is states were not going to sign on unless they got particular guarantees of the interests of those particular states, right? So if you're claiming that that's DEI, then the response that I would...
Ben is literally saying, Ben just described the concept of equity and then said, and this is why it doesn't fit the bill of DEI.
Would have is right, because that's how you have to come to an agreement. So if you're going to make the parallel argument with regard to DEI in, for example, the racial context, you then have to make the case that the only way that you can have conciliation in the United States is for particular racial groups to be given specific racial benefits, and otherwise the country is going to split apart, which is an argument with which I generally disagree, even if I agreed with the way the Constitution was formed.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't see like your parallel here, right? I think that DEI could exist in multiple modalities. My argument in a nutshell is nothing more than the fact that
he's saying DEI means give black people benefits is so slimy. Yeah, that's the problem. That's the problem. Ben keeps not saying the quiet part out loud, but pointing to it that DEI means black person. Okay, the fundamental disagreement here between Timothy Chalamet, woke Timothy Charlemagne and Ben Shapiro is that technically the Electoral College, something that Ben would defend, or the way that the Senate is structured, another thing that Ben would defend, is built on the principles of diversity, equity, and inclusion. Ben is constantly going back to the argument that like, nah, it just means black people. But without openly saying it like that, because he would openly say it like that, then you would realize like he's a racist piece of shit. He's a racist piece of shit who avoids certain realities, like you avoid the top of the hour ad break, by subscribing. That is Tom Holland, woke Spider-Man. He could be Libethy Chalamet. I don't know. We're being anti-white racist right here. Here's the 3-minute ad break now, by the way. Punk Cushion, thank you for the 10 gifted subs.
We see disparities existing in rural areas compared to metropolitan areas. We see disparities existing in the size of a state and its overall population. And you're qualming these.
Right. Can't tell if you like this kid or not. No, I do like him. I like him. I think he's a little bit too libbed up, and I hope that he like doesn't fall full tilt debate lord. I mean, he is doing that right now, but I think that what's his take on Palestine? I don't know. I actually have no idea. Like I like him more than I like Harry Sasson, for sure. Like there were a couple things that he said. There were a couple things that he said in the like previous one against Charlie Kirk where was it Charlie Kirk? Like where I didn't fully, I didn't think that he took the best route when like talking about Kamala's immigration policies, but overall I think he's a pretty solid debater, and it seems like his heart is in the right place. And when people constantly have guys like this and they go, oh, dude, he follows Destiny. Like, I don't give a shit, dude. Like, I don't even care if you're a fan of Destiny. If you're like literally constantly in this community, okay? As long as you present yourself in a solid fashion against someone like Ben Shapiro and make him eat his words, I'm going to ride for you in that moment, okay? 1,000%. Even including, but not limited to, what's that other guy? The guy that was on the Nirvana cover when he was a baby who hates me. I would have given Divorcelli a shot if he actually didn't sit there and goddamn agree with Ben Shapiro for like most of the conversation that they had. So much so that even everyone's favorite centrist Lex Friedman was like, you guys agree on a lot, huh? That's crazy. Like that is, to me, that's unconscionable, okay? There's a couple things I don't like. There's a couple things I can't stand. There's a couple things I don't like. One of those things is obviously like sitting around and just like agreeing with Ben Shapiro. It's disgusting. It is absolutely disgusting. It's unacceptable. It's unacceptable when Anna did it too. I don't think it was appropriate at all. This man is a goddamn demon. That's f***ed up. The other thing that's unacceptable also, I forget what I was going to say. I don't even have a 3-minute. Oh, the other thing that I thought that he did that was like up was when he went on the cake stream to like debate Nicholas Fuentes. Like I don't think that was a good idea. There is no reason whatsoever, even though his platform is not that big overall and it's more beneficial for him, even though his platform is not that big and it was somewhat beneficial for him to present himself in front of like a Nazi. I don't think that you should ever sit across from a guy like Nick Fuentes and debate them. I just don't think that it's a smart way to go about things. Now, the difference there, of course, is that like if Nick Fuentes was like straight up in a prominent, elevated position, then that's a little different. Like has a massive fan base and a massive audience and like tens of thousands of people who like hang on every word that he says, then you have to deal with that. But everything that you do leading up to that is basically giving him an additional platform, like having him over or going out and getting chicken and waffles with him and inviting him to your home. Like these are all things that you should never do, especially when he had no motion, no juice whatsoever. Like when you do that, or when you bring him on to like other podcasts, you put him through the podcast circuit, like you are giving him clout, which is insane. I'm not saying that Dean did that, by the way. There's another person that did say that or did do that.
Right, but the
whereas
DEI
losing the
DEI response to that would not be
like through like an over representation.
And the DEI
and I understand that your argument is, but my single-handed point here is that you would say, in some sense, that this is a reconciliation to introduce more inclusion in the sense of a state to state in their population. I mean, so if you make the concession that this is DEI, would you say in the same sense that we shouldn't have
I don't make
other
the concession
DEI
that falls within the definition of DEI that I've used. And if your claim is that I'm now in favor of, for example, subsidies to rural areas at the expense of urban areas, I'm not actually.
So do you think that DEI would only apply in the context of race?
No, it could apply in the context of class. It could apply.
Okay, if it could apply in the context of race, class, and identity, why can't it apply in the context of a state's population and their representation in our government?
I mean, if they were to receive special bennies at the expense of other members of the population,
they are.
Wait, yeah. What do you mean? You're allocating political capital directly to a state that it does not. You're allocating political power to a state, not by the virtue of anything, but simply existing as a state. What the f does he mean? Wait, what does he mean by bennies? Is he a gonk? Oh, benefits. Isn't bennies like cyberpunk money? Oh, no, that was Eddie's. And One Piece currency is berries. So I guess no one has, there isn't. What the f did you say? Gonk. Is he a gonk or a choom? No choom, it's Eddie's. A lot of you are a bunch of corpo gonks, dude. You don't know what a real choom. You don't know what a real choom sounds like. I'm speaking cyberpunk speak. I'm gonna have a Johnny Silverhand moment. All of the words that I'm using right now that you don't understand is from a famous video game called Cyberpunk 2077. It was a very it was a board game with a cult-like following that turned into a fantastic video game that I very much enjoyed with a immersive, massive environment set in a future libertarian dystopia by CD Projekt Red. Okay, let's continue.
Yes, like Alabama or Arkansas are literally receiving special benefits insofar as a greater level of representation in our Senate and in electoral processes compared to people in California. I mean, for instance, that's my buddy Parker over there. He lives in California, right? And I live in Colorado. So I literally have more representation person for person in the sense of Parker's vote compared to my vote, because individualistically speaking, I'm from a state that has more representation, and the same thing could be said for multiple other states across America, especially in the Senate. There's two senators that represent me and everyone else in Colorado, and there's two senators that represent him and millions more people.
How are you getting
California.
from point A, which is that California has 2 senators and Colorado has 2 senators, to point B, which is that we should have incredible racial carve-outs on the basis of group identity at the behest of the federal government? That is a very, very large stretch.
No, it's not. No, it's not. You are desperately running away from the principle when it suits your political project versus the way that you want to represent what DEI actually is, without actually ever admitting that when you say DEI, you mean black people. You are embarrassed to say it because you're at least too smart to understand a common Hasanabi principle. There is a level of permissible racism in America. Ben Shapiro sometimes goes above it, but usually stays under that boundary in an effort to make himself seem like an intellectual. Okay?
To get from point A to point B on the basis of the constitutional structure seems like you're going pretty far afield. I appreciate what you're trying to do, but you know, the rubber band only goes so far.
That's the end of this claim.
That's great.
I appreciate you, man. Hopefully we could talk more.
I hear what you're saying.
The other thing with like debate guys is that they have like respect for a guy like Ben Shapiro. I think that I have too much hate in my heart for people that spread that kind of hate. You know what I mean?
Next claim is that Kamala Harris's extreme pro-abortion stance is morally indefensible. What's going on, dude?
Meet you, man.
Hey, good to meet you. Okay, so I just want to clarify the claim because, okay, so the claim that I'm making about
what is up with this hat, my man? What's up with the dudes wearing like crazy shit to this?
Kamala Harris. Let's first say like what I believe her position to be. Okay, so she has not stated any abortion law that she would not veto. right? So the Partial Birth Abortion Ban Act, for example, or late-term abortion bans, she would presumably veto that as president of the United States. That's the position that I'm taking in this particular prompt. Okay, so that is the position that I find morally indefensible. Okay, so again, I'm a very, very pro-life person, but I can see at least the sort of nuanced arguments that some people on the left try to make about abortion, even if I disagree with those arguments. The argument that she's making, which is effectively abortion until birth should be in no way regulated, I find that to be morally indefensible.
Bro, you say to yourself, there's a lot of Hasanabi heads. I don't know.
My understanding right now is that a majority of Democrats would not support abortion through birth. My understanding is the more popular position, I don't think any state lets you go through birth.
I don't think this man is a Hasanabi head. I think this is a fallen Hasanabi head, maybe a former Hasanabi head.
Maybe I'm off on that. Maybe there's a couple.
California and New York, actually.
Okay, understood. But yeah, I think the key claim is basically, I think most Democrats would want abortion within the first few weeks prior to the development of my personal moral starting point of life is that the mind is the seat of consciousness. The brain is is where your self is. If you replace your heart, you have a robo heart, you're chilling. If you replace your brain, you're a different person, you're dead. And I think that when that brain first starts to develop, that's sort of where I see the beginning of life and where the fetus gets their first moral consideration. Would you agree that abortion before that point is tolerable?
No, I don't agree with that. But again, quick question, just as far as defining the positions.
Yeah.
So would you agree that late-term abortion is indefensible?
Yeah, I would. Yeah, that's not my position.
Late-term abortion, you have officially conceded the argument to your opponent. Number one, don't do this, okay? Do not do this. There's not a single state in the United States of America where you can get a third trimester abortion without some sort of medical necessity, okay? Every single state. You cannot have a fun abortion. A late-term abortion implies that someone is going out there and just getting an abortion for the fuck of it, okay? That's not how this works. Just letting you guys know, this is a rhetorical trick that Republicans apply all the time. Okay? It's not a real problem, and it also should not be legislated. Now, the reason why it should not be legislated is because the overwhelming majority, if not every single person that gets a third trimester abortion is actually looking to carry a pregnancy to term. It is already a very traumatic experience for the carrier and the family because they thought that they were going to have a baby. At that point, they start buying cribs for the child. They start buying clothes for the child. So you're unnecessarily complicating this process by adding a legal hurdle on top of it. And it will cause the carrier to potentially die. It is a silly distinction that people make. Okay? It's a Republican trap. Okay? It is a Republican trap. That's it. When people say legal at any stage, what they actually still mean is that it is legal in the third trimester, but you still need to get some kind of medical, some kind of medical intervention, because you can't get an abortion at that point without like direct medical intervention. It has to still have some kind of medical necessity. A psychological trauma could be made as an argument. Anyway, where is it? Current legal status, waiting period, no mandatory waiting period, legal at any stage, Alaska does not require a minor to notify a parent. In September, Alaska Superior Court judge struck down the requirement that only licensed physicians provide abortions, meaning the procedure can now be legally performed by nurse practitioners. Why is it legal at all stages of pregnancy? Number of abortion clinics in the state decreased by 1% going from state face the risk of unintended pregnancy, abortion rights. Women from the state participated in marches supporting abortion rights, stop the bans movement. Yeah. If the woman really didn't want the baby, don't you think they would have aborted it earlier? Exactly. It is a stupid argument. Why the would someone carry a pregnancy to 6 months? The only hyper limited circumstances, like so unimaginably marginal, is if someone found out that they were pregnant too late and they were not able to get an abortion earlier than the 6-month barrier. Okay? That's it. That is the only case. And even then, you can absolutely make an argument that this is to save the carrier. After all, abortions can still be deadly in the United States of America. As a matter of fact, much worse mortality rates than any other OECD nation. I think we're like in the bottom. Anyway, too fat to know they're pregnant. No, that's not how that goes, man. Not all pregnancies are the same. Why don't Kamala say that instead of saying we hate third trimester abortions? Because people have a hard time describing this shit. For the record, it's really stupid, and it is a ridiculous argument. It's a ridiculous argument to present. They're just trying to find like something that sounds not so right. The entire process for the Republicans is to make it seem like women are being sluts and around, and then they just like want to get an abortion because they were just like, again, around and being slutty, and they need to be punished by carrying a pregnancy to term. And they want to do it at the last second for fun. It's so stupid. It doesn't make sense. It literally is not a thing that happens. And adding an unnecessary legal hurdle in front of it will only prevent people who literally need to get that abortion. The overwhelming majority, if not like maybe there's like one person, okay, that was like, I want to get an abortion for fun in the third trimester because I wanted to see what it's like to carry a pregnancy almost to term. There could be one person in the history of the United States. That does not matter, okay? There are tens of thousands of women that literally go through this complicated process all the way to the third trimester and then have to get a medically necessary third trimester abortion, which is a tremendous medical intervention, by the way. It's basically like, you know, where you are chopping up the mother a little bit and the fetus too. And it is a devastating process. So it's ridiculous that these guys want to shut that off because they have invented a person that is going to go and do it for fun. Okay? Arizona is legal up to the 15th week of pregnancy. Patients must meet a physician at least 24 hours before the procedure, and a licensed physician must perform the procedure. Minors under the age of 18 must receive parental consent. Total abortion ban was passed in Arizona territory. That was a famous one. Anyway. Did you already react to the Ben Shapiro Jubilee video, my king? I'm currently in the process of reacting to it. I just wanted to briefly mention that the concept of third trimester abortions are no different than like any sort of abortion restriction at any other stage. Once people realize that it's stupid, once people realize that framing is stupid, you can have a better, more productive conversation.
Okay, so you actually agree with me on the prompt. Okay, so now we get into the broader abortion conversation. That's fine. I mean,
no worries.
That's totally cool. So yes, no.
Do you feel like a majority of Democrats support through like the moment before birth?
A majority of Democrats have not supported any abortion legislation on the federal level in my entire lifetime, nor do I suppose that they will. So if there were to be a consensus 15-week abortion ban, for example, which is about the status in Europe, I would assume that virtually all Democrats would vote against that 15-week abortion ban.
Mm-hmm.
So you know, I may agree with your more moderate position, or at least use that as a starting point.
Mm-hmm.
That is certainly not where the Democratic Party historically has been, nor is it where the Democratic Party is right now.
Awesome, understood. And just to understand where you begin your moral consideration for a fetus.
Oh, where I consider?
Yeah.
No, this guy's not a Hasanabi head. He's just trying to have a philosophical conversation with Ben. There ain't no way, dude. It's a dumb, unproductive way to talk to a charlatan. Okay, Ben Shapiro is not a serious person. Ben Shapiro is literally a professional debater, okay? His job is to package his ideas in as short of a period of time as possible. You're never going to be able to have this long, convoluted conversation about the morality or whatever. Even though Ben presented the argument as Kamala Harris's extreme pro-abortion stance is morally indefensible, don't concede to the framing of your opponent, ever.
At conception. Mm-hmm. Right. So I believe in life, that life begins at conception. You now have a human being with potential, not a potential human being. And then the question is exactly what the moral value of that human being is. Once you acknowledge that there is, in fact, a countervailing interest to, for example, a woman's quote unquote right to choose, once you acknowledge there's an independent interest.
Sure. Thank you so much for your time, Ben.
Hasan, why did you wipe your Discord? I was having fun hating on Jews. That's great, man. I like that the mindset of these delusional losers is so Republican, like genuinely, that they cannot find a problem, so they invent it on their own. This is no different than Steven Crowder being like, oh, trans people are competing in athletic competitions to exclusively defeat women by faking being trans, and then because they can't find a single person that's doing that, they become that person. I like that that's what you're doing. That like you made up a story and now you're like, well, why can't I be the guy? Are you admitting to Brigade to introduce anti-Semitism into our community? The answer is yes. That is precisely what that person was doing. But they're so stupid that they think that this is somehow a solid way to do it.
You made it. You're good. You can relax.
Hi, how are you?
Doing well. How are you?
Hello. Nice to meet you. Oh wow, you look better in person. Okay, so
It's very sweet of you.
No, don't do that.
I don't often get that, so thank you.
Okay, it's fine. But yeah, how do you define abortion really quickly?
Abortion would be the forcible termination of an unborn human life.
Yes, but like, why do you hold that definition? Like, would you not assume like something like a C-section would be considered an abortion?
No, because the baby is born alive. So how would that be an abortion?
What does the definition of abortion have to include the death of a fetus?
Because that's literally the definition of abortion.
It literally isn't though. Where are you getting this definition from?
Where are you getting your definition from?
Let's go to like do you like in like Mayo Clinic, like any fucking like hospital you've ever gone to before?
It's not a ha moment. She's not wrong. It's just like abortion is like, I guess it doesn't really matter, but like in the medical sense, what she's saying is not entirely incorrect, but it doesn't fucking matter. It's like being like, well, anti-Semitism, I'll have you know, Arabs are Semites. It's a Semitic language. Like, it doesn't fucking matter. It's a semantics argument that I think is not the best avenue of approach, unless she's going to use that as a jump off point for a broader point that she's going to make.
A C-section ends with the birth of the child.
Right, but
I know,
but abortion,
both I and all three of my siblings were born via
generally.
C-section.
Yeah, I understand this.
I'm here. I'm talking to you.
I know, baby.
Thus I was not aborted.
I understand this, but like yes, but like no. Well, yes, but like no. But no. You could simply say that abortion is simply the ending of a pregnancy, right?
Did you really nuke your whole Discord server? No. Also, I have no control over my own Discord anyway. I have no idea. If you think that I have the capacity to nuke an entire Discord server, I would have nuked it a long ass time ago. What is happening? What is this Discord now? Is this a new talking point? Is that what's going on? This is what we've moved on to. I like that because you can't find anything that isn't clip chimped into oblivion that I have said that I personally believe that you have issue with, that we have now decided we're going to move on from that to random people are being anti-Semitic to me online on Twitter. And even if they don't follow Hasan, it still doesn't matter. It's still his fault. Good luck, dude. I'm sure you will be able to find a goalpost that you're going to arrive at, that you don't have to move on. Okay? That you don't have to motorize as much.
So the ending of a pregnancy outside of the natural birth of a fetus. So I don't see that. I don't see why you would say that like it would have to end in the death of a fetus, which is why I'm pro-abortion on 9 months, right? Because say if a woman is not able to pass a fetus in the natural way, we could have these other abortion processes that would say like, okay, like she needs some type of induction that doesn't include the actual natural expulsion of a fetus. But it doesn't always end in the death of a fetus. So I don't see how you could say that Kamala Harris' stance is immoral in this sense.
I just don't understand how you're removing the death of the fetus from the equation.
Yeah, if your baby dies inside of you in a miscarriage, you still have to get an abortion. Abortions are a medically induced miscarriage. If your baby dies inside of you, you have to get an abortion to end the pregnancy, even though the baby's already dead.
About abortion. That's literally the entire moral issue. You and I would not even be arguing if we were talking about C-sections or about natural birth.
But it seems like at its core, though, we disagree on what the inherent definition of abortion is.
You could leave away. We could very easily solve this. Let's just not talk about the word abortion. Let's talk about the forcible termination of a baby.
Okay. So then, what do you value in the fetus then?
The life of the fetus.
Okay, so then when is this? You said it begins at conception?
Yes.
And why is that?
Because that is...
Okay, this has been 2 debates, like 2 debaters so far, and I feel like they haven't been able to... They really think you have they really think you know how to do anything in your Discord? Okay, why are you guys making fun of me? Yeah, I don't know how to do it. Okay, suck my dick. Shut up, bitch.
It's literally the biological definition of when an independent life begins.
But like, why does it have moral value?
It has moral value because
we wipe the Discord every year to keep things manageable. It's also funny they keep saying we're anti-Semitic in this Discord when we literally nuke their account from the server as soon as someone says anything anti-Semitic. Yeah, I know. It's not something that is acceptable in this community. It never has been, and it never will be. You can cry about it all day, every day. Okay, suck my dick.
Because that's literally the biological definition of when a human life begins.
Right, but like, why does that have moral value, though?
Okay, why does any life have moral value?
I would value sentience.
But why?
Right, because
based on what?
This is simply what we value, like you and I value. Like, is it okay to like unplug like a brain dead patient, for example?
I mean, the question is whether it's okay to unplug a brain dead patient. Actually, quite a controversial one in sort of religious circles. But as far as why, I'm just wondering if somebody's in a coma and you know they're going to wake up. Do you have the right to unplug them?
Well, coma's not brain death, though. We know that there's future sentience there. Like, it would be like a matter of like a conjunct of like past, future. Like, past, present, or future sentience. But like a person in a coma has.
I agree. And guess what? Fetuses also have guaranteed future sentience.
Well, no, because you're only valuing.
Oh my God. Why are we doing this? Guys, you can literally be pro-life in your own mind and still be pro-choice. Okay. Why? One must ask the question, why? Many Americans are. How is that possible? It's because being pro-choice is saying that the government should not interfere in this medical intervention. That should be kept between a patient and their medical professional. What the is this conversation? You might have a disagreement with people taking diabetes medication. That doesn't make any sense. If you were to run around and be like, I'm sorry, I think if you have diabetes, you should die. You should not be able to get insulin because I don't feel like it, because I feel like you made personal choices that caused you to get diabetes later on because you ate too much or some shit. Not talking about diabetes that you get from from childbirth, but like diabetes that you got later on in your life. So you have to die now because I feel like you made this mistake. That's an idiotic argument to make. That is the argument that they keep making for abortion. That's it. That's it. That is the only thing you need to talk about. How can we regulate this? Okay? There is a reason why this is such a deeply unpopular thing in the United States of America after the Supreme Court, with the Trump appointments, decided to strike down Roe v. Wade after lying about it. Okay? After saying that it was a super precedent, that they would never touch it. Okay? Oh, the morality of the fetus or the sentience has no bearing in this conversation, okay?
Maybe one half of the conjunct. That's not, right? So it would be past, present, or
now
future.
You're changing the topic. I mean, we started with what's the value of the fetus.
Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.
Whoa! Like, I don't even think you should do the violinist problem, okay? I don't even think you should do the violinist problem. There is no reason to have long, convoluted, philosophical arguments, especially with the likes of Ben Shapiro, okay? No, you shouldn't even make the violinist argument, okay? You shouldn't, because it doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that it's like you are ridding your body of a parasite. You're going to, optically speaking, people are not going to like the argument that you're making if you start referring to a fetus as a parasite. The violinist problem is, the violinist argument is that if there is a, what was it, like a world famous violinist that one day you wake up and a world famous violinist is like strapped to your body and, you know, they did this without telling you. And now the violinist is on life support and can't survive unless they are, if you rip the cord, the violinist dies. Okay. But you didn't consent to having the violinist be attached to your body. You didn't know that the violinist was attached to your body. And now you can't do things that you want to do because the violinist is attached to your body. The dude who uses that on destroys him, in my opinion. Okay. Spoiler alert, Ben uses this example. Yeah, it's a famous thought experiment, okay? Imagine waking up in a bed, disoriented, bleary-eyed, and confused. You can't remember how you got there. The bed you're in doesn't feel familiar. As soon as you get a sense of your surroundings, you notice a bunch of medical equipment around. You notice plugs and tubes coming out of your body. You realize you're back-to-back with another person. A glimpse in the mirror tells you the person you're attached to is a world-famous violinist, one with a fatal kidney ailment. And now you start to realize what's happened. Last night you were invited to guest of honor at an event hosted by the Society of Music Lovers. During the event, they told you about this violinist whose prodigious talent would be taken from the world too soon if they couldn't find a way to fix him. It looks like, based on the medical records strewn around the room, the Society of Music Lovers have been scouring the globe for someone whose blood type and genetic markers are a match with a violinist. A doctor enters the room looking distressed. She informs you the Society of Music Lovers drugged and kidnapped you and had your circulatory system hooked up to the violinist. Do you have the right to unplug? The answer is yes, but I just still think it's a long and convoluted conversation to have with the likes of Ben Shapiro, especially because the morality of abortion is completely negligible in this situation. The sentience, what it means to be What stage are we considering a life to be life? All of those conversations are completely irrelevant, okay? Autonomy rules over all. And on top of that, when we're writing legislation or when we're arguing that certain sets of standards should be kept the way it is, you don't have to make these conversations happen. You don't have to have these long, convoluted philosophical arguments. You want to know why? Because in practice, legislation is not always going to be perfect. But the goal of legislation, the goal of rules, is to ensure the maximum outcome of harm reduction, okay? When you start making rules about like what kind of abortion should be stopped, you all of a sudden, and I gave you this example in the third trimester situation, you all of a sudden start creating unnecessary complications that end up hurting real existing alive people, okay? And that's unacceptable. It's supposed to be completely unacceptable. Yeah, the one I always use is if a hospital's on fire, would you rather save a week-old baby or a freezer full of fertilized eggs? But that's also an intellectual trapping. The reason why I say that is because you look like an idiot if you say the fertilized eggs. That's the only reason why you ever bring that up. It's a debate lord technique that I also apply because technically your goal in that situation is to cause the other person to come across like a weirdo. If they say fertilized eggs, then they're a weirdo. Most people are going to look at that and be like, you're a weirdo. No one would do that. That's the reason why you apply that argument.
You know what? Just for, honestly, God, just for that,
That's the thing. They view potential humans the same as actual humans. No, they don't. That's the entire point of this conversation. And that's precisely the reason why they make medical exceptions in the cases of incestuous rape or in the cases of rape in general, even though technically that's a bullshit exception anyway, because the legal process to figure out if rape even occurred or not, already pretty up with our massive backlog of untested rape kits, is going to greatly be longer than the carrying the pregnancy to term to begin with. So it's bullshit. All of it is bullshit. Okay, it's bullshit. That's why you cannot legislate this stuff. You cannot restrict this stuff. Anyway.
Forfeit. That's like some serious efforting right there. Well done.
I'll take
really well
it.
done.
Thank you. Yeah. So on the topic of abortion, I think we have a big focus on the moral aspects of abortion.
They say they view them the same, but they genuinely don't. That's how you catch. That's how that argument catches them off guard. Yes, exactly. The fertilized eggs versus the baby argument is to expose that you don't believe that it's murder and a life is a life. Okay, you don't actually believe fertilized eggs are a life. That's it. If you did, you would not have any medical exemptions. You would not allow any abortions to happen, even if it was a rape child, even if it was a child that was giving birth because they were raped as a child. Okay? You wouldn't. Technically, Alabama and other states that have like no exceptions whatsoever are actually more honest about their barbarity. Okay?
Abortion, but I do think we should talk about the legal aspects of life, because when a baby is born, two things happen: birth certificate, social security card. When there are a fetus, when it's like cells in the body, you don't get the birth certificate, you don't get a social security card because it's not alive, it's not born yet. Therefore, when it comes to like the moral repercussions of having abortion, I feel like that's very different than legally, because if a cluster of cells in a woman was equivalent to a baby, I should be able to have tax deductions on that kid. I should be able to have child care from the government. I should be able to have child support from the father. But since like the clusters of cells is in fact not a baby, I feel like morally, you can say whatever, but legally,
morality is a trick in this situation. Ben is saying morality because it's a trick. If you want to use morally indefensible, if you want to use the premise that he set up, don't talk about the morality of the fetus, but talk about the morality of the harm, the much larger harm that is being conducted here when you enforce this insane restriction upon an entire population of people.
The clusters of cells is not like
so sort of hiding behind the legal positivist position, I think, to shield against the morality.
Yeah, hiding behind the legal positive disposition. Shut the f up. What do you mean? That's what you're talking about, okay? That is what you're talking about. It's morally indefensible is just seasoning that you're adding to the conversation.
here is a problem, and I'll tell you why. Okay. So when it comes to, first of all, don't threaten me with a good time. I'm perfectly happy to have people pay paternity for children that are currently in utero. Like that's fine with me. In fact, I think that'd be quite good. I think it would incentivize fathers to stay with the mothers and actually be more responsible. But if we're talking about legal status, there are plenty of people in the United States, for example, who don't have legal status right now, who don't have a social security card, for example, in the United States. Obviously, we can't kill them. They're legal immigrants. We shouldn't murder them. There are lots of people in the legal status does not, in fact, equate to moral status in any sense of the term. I mean, that it's true, for example, that children can't vote and don't actually have control over any of their.
Oh, okay. Just the only question you have to ask is like, do you believe life begins at conception? He's going to say yes. Then you're going to say, okay, that's the reason why you want abortions, correct? He's going to say yes, because all abortions are murder. He's going to say yes. Then you're going to say, do you not believe that there should be exceptions for rape, incestuous rape, and the like? Would you force a 12-year-old, would you force your own daughter to carry a pregnancy to term by force, even if it was a product of incestuous rape? If he says yes, he looks like a clown ass anyway. You basically optically won the argument. Okay? You basically optically won the argument. Then you can start talking about how insane that is. Charlie Kirk did say yes to that. I remember. Okay? I remember. Yes, Charlie Kirk, they walked Charlie Kirk step by step through this process, to which he responded with yes, yes, and yes. Okay? Then you can basically say that is unconscionable and unimaginable cruelty that you are subjecting a 12-year-old to. You should have your child separated from you by Child Protective Services for the crime of forcing them to carry a pregnancy to term. Oftentimes a procedure that is so devastating that your child might not even survive. So the argument here is insanely stupid. You would rather kill your 12-year-old child who was a victim of rape in order to maintain your supposed quote unquote moral integrity than, engage in this life-saving medical intervention. So that's the stupid argument. Also, the other argument for Ben that you can make is Judaism, which is ironic because Ben is Jewish. Judaism does not have the same restrictions on abortion that like the false interpretation under Christianity does. So there's also that aspect of the conversation. It's literally permissible under Judaism.
Their decision-making, right? I have 4 kids of my own, and I control their decision-making because they're very small. Okay, that doesn't mean that I get to kill them. So the idea of legal status, thus being the basis of a moral status, is putting the cart before the horse. The truth is that it's because things have a moral status that we give them a legal status, and obviously you can see that state by state, right? For example, even in the state of California, they had something called Lacey's Law for a while. I think it's still applicable, where if somebody killed a pregnant woman, that could be treated as a double homicide in criminal law. Okay, that sort of stuff applies all over the United States. So using the legal as a substitute to sort of evade the moral question ignores the fact that people make law in the states based on what their moral perception of the issue is. The law follows.
There's a much greater moral harm that you are subjecting millions, tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of existing, living, breathing Americans in an effort to abide by a standard that your religion does not actually have. You're doing this for Christianity. That's number one. Okay, because you're a cuck. And 2, this standard is not even one that anyone actually holds on to personally. Okay? It's so stupid. Yeah, he's a massive Christ cuck.
Perception, not the other way around.
Yes, I agree, but I think there is a problem with the moral perception, especially when you consider that morality varies all across America. It's not uniform anywhere. And that's a big problem, especially when you see in the South when they're having like 6-week abortion bans, which is detrimental to women's health. Because as we see in Georgia right now, there were 2 women who were pregnant who went to a hospital, get health care, and they were denied that care because there was confusion surrounding abortion laws. That's why I focus more so on the legality aspect of it, because that's something that's uniform.
That's good.
Something
That's
that
a good
can be
argument.
known.
It is uniform though, right? I mean, it does vary state to state. I mean, as you yourself just acknowledged.
True, yeah.
Yeah, it didn't. Before, there was a very famous Supreme Court decision that made it so that there was at least like a bottom that you couldn't go under, Kind of why we're having this conversation right now, Ben, because it was overturned. I don't know.
Yes,
so,
it
you know,
does.
when it comes to sort of we can get into the specifics of those particular Georgia cases. One of them particularly has been relatively badly covered. It's about a woman who took basically both doses of the abortion medication. She took it without the supervision of a doctor. She then experienced essentially sepsis, and she went to the hospital late. And then under no interpretation, by this point, she had twins. Both of the fetuses were unfortunately dead by this point, so there actually was no legal problem with performing a DNC at that time, and the hospital misinterpreted the law. You know, but without getting into more details about that particular case, the real question when it comes to abortion was, and always will be how we weigh two separate considerations. One is the moral value of the life of the fetus, and the second is the woman's right to choose. The problem is that these are sort of mutually exclusive, meaning that I don't have a right to choose about your life, right? About whether I get to kill you or not, or about the children that I have who are already born. And so the right to choose is obviated by the acknowledgement of a moral status on the part of the child, and vice versa. Right? If you're willing to say that the child has no moral status whatever, then there really is no problem with abortion. The big moral problem I have with the sort of Kamala Harris position and the position that I have. Sorry.
I think I got the judges over here.
All right.
Hey, nice to meet you, Ben.
Plus, I'll see you again later, dude. All right. Yeah.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to
Hey,
meet
Cam. Hey, appreciate you being here and having an open discussion.
Yeah, you bet. It's fun.
Let's say that just hypothetically, right? Baby's born. Baby, mama can't.
It's me, Olalade in LA. What is happening? Are you in the video? Is that what it is? Why do you keep saying in LA, Koreatown?
Feed the baby. She's not breastfeeding. Baby dies. Morally, do you feel like that would be better than if the baby would have just been like aborted before it was born?
I mean, I'm not sure that there's any. I mean, I think that it's significantly worse to purposefully kill a child rather than accidentally or through circumstances kill a child.
Not accidentally, right? She cannot.
She didn't purposefully kill the child.
She can't afford it, right?
I mean,
she can't afford to have the baby, and so you're saying that Kamala Harris is extreme, but your stance is that women are being forced to have children, even if they decide that for whatever reason. I don't care. I don't care.
Why don't you care? Why don't you care? Because you give me a very specific example.
Because it's not between me.
I don't like this argument either. Like, it's like almost like a pro-eugenics argument for abortion. I think that you're unnecessarily conceding to something that most people will not look fondly at. You know what I mean? It's just, what? I'm not going to rape you, I promise? What the Okay. Olalade in LA and Koreatown is insane. All right. What the is going on, dude?
Because it is not between me.
Right, but
it is between that mom, her health, her relationship with whoever she believes in. It is not on me.
Here's sort of the problem. You're extrapolating from a very emotionally laden example to everything. And I'm wondering how you're doing that. So you give me a case in which you have a woman who, for whatever reason, literally cannot feed her child. For some reason, adoption's not available. There are no food stamps. There's literally nothing. She's in a desert by herself, and the baby.
What do you say to people who say they're pro-life because their friend almost got aborted, so they wouldn't exist if their mother got an abortion? What? What an insane question. That has nothing to do with like forcing women to carry pregnancy as a term. Great, man. Like, glad that your friend is alive. Like, what? That's what 14-year-olds say? Is it? I have not heard that at all. I'm an abortion survivor. Technically, I'm an abortion survivor. My mother almost had to get an abortion. When my mom and dad were in England, the local healthcare provider literally was like, yeah, your baby's going to die. Yeah. And you know what I think about that? If they would have aborted me at the time, who gives a shit? You know, I wouldn't be alive. Okay, well, whatever. I'm pro-life now. Sorry. Man, that's so dumb. This is a dumb argument. Okay, yeah, the NHS almost killed me. If you were born British, would you have preferred to get aborted? Yes.
Baby's going to die. Is that abortion equivalent to a woman who decides to, you know, because she doesn't want the baby for economic reasons or because it's going to crimp her lifestyle, like whatever, you said you don't care about the reason at all. That's your words, not mine. So she's 15 weeks pregnant. She wants to kill it. That's the same? Why?
You're asking me why it's the same. I'm asking you why isn't it the same? Why is a baby who
I think it's pretty self-evidently the same, not the same.
Can't be born say that if she doesn't want to, if she says that I can't economically afford this child, That's like somebody going and saying, I can't economically afford this car, and the car salesperson still taking them on a test drive. Like, what's the point if they've already told you that they are not going to be able to economically afford it unless you give them, like you said, okay, what about abortion? Well, there's how many people in foster care that aren't being adopted right now today? All right,
should we kill them or what?
I'm not saying we should kill them. I'm just saying that should we wait at least until
would have been better if they were
those
dead?
people. You tell me.
No, you tell me. You're the one who's suggesting
those
that's a matter of moral apathy, whether those kids were born or not. I don't think so.
So if kids are in foster care and not being treated well, they're being abused. They're not being fed.
That is a horrific problem, yes.
They're being locked.
Oh my God. Where is this argument going? I have to skip it. I'm skipping this.
Well, okay, we're going to take this chair. Look at that.
Hey, Ben.
Like a bro, my friend. All right.
How's it going?
Let's break open
first question, can men get pregnant?
Men cannot get pregnant.
Okay, awesome. So
definitionally.
Definitionally, okay. Do men experience SA? Sexual assault?
Sure.
TikTok immediately.
Got it. What about the existence of trans men?
What about the existence? Do you mean women who believe that they are men? What are we talking about here? Women experiencing gender dysphoria?
So my other question is, do you benefit from white supremacy in any way, shape, or form?
What?
I'm going to need more specifics on what you mean by white
Here,
supremacy.
let me give it to you then.
Sure, please.
So I'm a transgender man.
Okay.
I've experienced SA.
Okay.
And abortion rights affect me directly. So if we're talking about the American dream that you live, why don't I have access to that?
He's cooking
because
them.
There's no legislation, in the history of America, that legislates a man's body. So why does mine have to be legislated? I've got a vagina.
I'm not interested in.
Yo, dude, trans men are the best. They just break conservative brains so hard. They're like I think transphobes are so lasered in on trans women that they forget that like trans men even exist, right? So when that reality hits them right in the face, they're like, what? He just short circuited. He called him bro. He probably regrets it now. Exactly. Watch Ben try to desperately misgender this trans man after correctly gendering him. Oh, that's great. Wonderful. Wonderful stuff. I didn't know where he was going with that argument, with the whole like, do you benefit from white supremacy or any of that? But Mr. We Can Always Tell. Oh, that's so good.
What your genitalia are.
Clearly you are. I mean, it's all over everything you make, buddy. I'm sorry. I hate to say it to you, but
I think you can read on my face that I radically am not. I think you can read on my face that I radically am not. When we're talking.
He's like, I'm grossed out by you, I promise.
Talking about abortion.
No, I don't. I mean, you can present it here, but in most of the content that you have, you attack my community constantly. And you don't even realize guys like me exist who actually share a lot of similarities to you and everything, because I'm a married man of 20 years. I've got a wife.
I recognize that you exist. I disagree with your claim
so
that you are a male.
if I was sexually assaulted, right, and I didn't have access to that abortion care, do you believe that I should have carried that child to term because I was sexually assaulted?
I mean,
no, I just want to make sure that that's what you believe. Because as a transgender man, I have seen your side of the entire political debate, never ever having the conversation of what an American freedom is. Because why am I not allowed to live my American freedom as a man? You know, I mean, you get your choice as a man to live and free and all that.
You're really moving around terminology very wildly here.
And so, no, he's not. No, he's not. The problem for you, Ben, is that you have a duty to present yourself as a transphobic person who firmly has a commitment to misgendering trans people that are in your vicinity. But the problem is, because gender is demonstrably expressive, you are having a hard time doing that because of what is in front of you. You have already openly treated this trans man as a man. So now You're trying to desperately be like, well, you're throwing terminology around. No, he's not. He's not. He's not throwing terminology at all. It's just his existence is short-circuiting your brain right now because you have your political ambitions on the one side, and on the other side, you are like, how am I going to be able to maintain my posture and like keep correctly misgendering him? That is amazing. Oh my God. Oh my God. That's fantastic. This is fantastic. Awesome.
Or you, because that's the tactics you play in your game. And you've done it the entire time. You've jumped from one subject to the next. You speak so fast, and I know how you work. So how does it feel to have it in your face?
Oh, well, I mean...
Because I'm sick and tired of...
He's literally short-circuiting. He's like, dude, it's so awesome because he's also like a larger presence. Like oh God. Oh, this is so perfect. Oh my God. I never in a million years, I used to pray for times like this. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh, pack watch bozo. Holy shit. This is like the Ben Shapiro tweet that I made like a couple years back, being like, dude, obviously gender is not as rigid a binary as you claim it is because you don't even fit the mold. The man in front of you, literally in a lineup, fits more masculine features and has a more masculine outwardly presence than you do, Ben. He's taller than you. He can grow a full beard, you know? He's bigger than you. What's up, Ben? What the f***'s up? What's up? Now he has to just sit there. He already broed him. So now he just has to sit there and eat it. Yeah, Ben, you're 5'3", can't grow facial hair, and weigh 100 pounds soaking wet. If we can both be considered men, you should probably be a bit more open-minded about gender expressions. It's clearly not as rigid a binary as you try to imply it is. 131,000 likes. Masculinity and femininity exist. Outward indicators of masculinity and femininity exist in nearly every human culture. Boys are thought to be more masculine in virtually every human culture because the role of men is not always the same as the role of women. That's so fire. God damn, that shit.
Of the shit that you have put against my community, especially black trans women, because you constantly disregard all of our needs and then use us politically as a pawn when we're 1% of the population. Why not focus on the economy itself? All of us are struggling, and you want to focus on trans people. You want to focus.
Oh, damn. Yo, he had an agenda. God damn, this is great. Yo, why are people throwing up flags right now? Okay. Some of you need to dial it back and let my king speak. Okay. I cannot believe people are like, they're not talking about abortion. Ben's getting mogged over here, and you're like, put that flag down. That's transphobia. Oh, God damn. This is so sick. That's how you know he really hates trans people, by the way. God, he can't even be in the presence of a trans person. He just like, it breaks his brain.
On a black woman when this is clearly a glass cliff situation. America's falling apart, and let's give it a woman right when it's all falling apart, when we'd had, what, 50 men run it and it looks like shit?
Oh my God, he even did the glass cliff argument. Yo, that's crazy. He's right. Yo, he's cooking. God damn. God damn, dude. He said, not only can I do MPreg, you also just got impregnated. That's crazy. Oh my God. He destroyed Ben Shapiro and America in one like 60-second block. What the incredible stuff. Incredible stuff. The glass cliff argument is one that is common, like the Linda Yaccarino. Like when Elon Musk bought Twitter, like some companies end up putting a woman in charge when the company's about to fall apart. So they'd be like, see, we put a woman in charge and it still fell apart, like Twitter.
Look at where we're at. Truly,
So-
where do you think that we're heading? I
So-
mean, it's so funny to watch
You've been going
white
for-
supremacy just fall apart the way that it is, and you ride so hard. Because guess what? In other countries around the world, women are not having children. And why is it? Because of the patriarchy and all the violence that men perpetuate, and all of this idea that abortion is
He's
somehow
that 4B movement.
going to solve it all by forcing women to have abortion instead of focusing on the real problems that we're facing in our society. We're just going to completely ignore that, and we're just going to go, you know what? The line item is, let's make women have.
Oh my God, Ben is so uncomfortable. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Ben is literally. Wait, dude, I need to
not
see his
having
face
children.
again.
And why is it? Because of the patriarchy and all the violence that men perpetuate, and all of this idea that abortion is somehow going to solve it all by forcing women to have abortion instead of focusing on the real problems that we're facing in our society. We're just going to.
Look at him. Damn. The legends say that he actually became 5'3" in that moment. He was 5'4" before he entered the arena, and he left the arena an inch shorter.
Completely ignore.
Like, he shrunk in real time, dude. What the? Yeah, this is the one time where transphobia literally means you're afraid of trans people. People be like, oh, transphobia. Like, what do you mean? You're like afraid of trans people? Like, no, Ben is, okay? He is. He's like physically afraid of a trans person. He's figuratively afraid of a trans person. He is the most transphobic he has ever been in his life. This is so good.
Or that, and we're just going to go, you know what? The line item is, let's make women have babies so that we can continue this capitalistic society that we have. Why are we doing that? What?
Damn, people are like, he's cooking so hard. People in the audience are like, God damn, he's right.
I mean, why? Because you want to push white supremacy and because you want to make your check? It does great for you. Meanwhile, people like me have to live with the consequences of all of your rhetoric that you put on a daily basis, and including my entire community and the intersectionalities of Black women, men that experience SA, trans people, everyone that comes in. And I'm so sick of the idea that you can come in with this bravado that you're this big guy that knows things because you can talk fast, you have statistics. But really, what does it really matter at the end of the day if you are harming the entire American? This guy's been accused of rape, Trump, in like court documents, and you're backing the guy. Like, you have children. How could you do that to your own? Don't you have a daughter? Like, what is wrong with you, dude? I've never seen such a party just completely like the American idea, what we believe in as a country, is not what you're perpetuating. It's diversity. It's giving you tired, hungry, and poor. The Google phone you have in your pocket is because of all of the diversity we've had.
Pause.
Damn. He f***ed him so hard. The referees had to come in and be like, please stop. Ben's gonna leave. He got scolded like a child. That was kind of sick. That was a cool moment. That was, wow. Ben won by being quiet. Wake up, bro. Dude, I don't think we watched the same thing. Did we just, I'm cute and kind. Oh my God, it's Ben Shapiro. Oh my God, it's Ben Shapiro's alt account. No one will know it's me if I call myself cute and kind. Stop it, Ben. That was sick. Yeah, that's how debates are won, by being quiet and shrinking into your safe space. I thought debates were won by, making a convincing argument. What happened? What convincing argument did Ben retaliate with? Yeah, he won by going nonverbal. I win all of my arguments by going nonverbal. You don't understand.
Pleasure to meet you.
Oh. Yo, he's dope.
There's a lot of tension in the room now. Let's stay cordial. Let's stay respectful, please. Please, please.
Yeah. All of my haters that are constantly trying to clip me out of context to be like, he should get banned, fail to recognize that I just showed you pornographic violation. Like that, if you clip this out of context, if you clip that entire segment and be like, Hasan is literally showing porn on stream, I would probably get banned. Okay. That was insane.
Hi, how are you?
Nice to meet you. So let's say that I'm voted out by my friends here, and I stand up and immediately collapse onto the ground. Paramedics rush in, and through some magical means, they determine that the only person who can save my life is you. You can do that by giving me a transplant. Can you be forced to give me a transplant?
I cannot.
Why?
Because I do not have a parental relationship with you, and thus I do not owe you a duty of care in the same way that I would if, say, you were my son.
Can a parent be forced to give a...
Ben knew the violinist argument was coming and immediately deflected by saying, I do not have a duty to give you parental care.
Kid a transplant.
Yes, a parent can be forced to give a kid an enormous number of resources, or should be.
Can you be forced to give me blood?
No.
Do you believe that the average person should be able to be forced by the government to do something with their body?
It depends what, because that
Why
that
can
is
you
the
not be
nature of
forced
law.
to give me? Why can you not be forced to give me an organ?
Because I do not owe you a duty of care sufficient to remove an organ
Because
from
you
me.
cannot be forced to use your body to sustain my own, and that is the crux of
Because
the
I do not
abortion
owe you a
argument.
duty to
Because
care.
you cannot be used. You cannot be forced to use your body to sustain my own, and that is the crux of the abortion argument. And the problem is, and it's very morally
You're ignoring the
inconsistent.
parental relationship.
Because there's a point.
Yeah,
here that-
see, Ben knew that Ben's heard the violinist argument before. He immediately tried to counter it like off the jump.
There's a very morally inconsistent part to your argument right here. If you do not believe that you should be able to you should be forced to sustain my body using your own, then you should also not believe that a woman should be forced to sustain a child that they do not want to carry in utero. Is the same basic argument.
Well,
it doesn't matter how you get there. Let's say that you crash into me on the way out of here.
Well, no, it's
if
actually,
you hit
it's
into
not
me,
the, it's actually
yes,
not
it
the
is,
same
but
argument.
it is. If you say
It
that,
isn't,
let's say that you run into me
Okay.
on the way out of here. If you crash into me, it doesn't matter that that is the reason why I am in that state. You cannot be forced.
I think going forward from this point on, Ben is always going to be worried about using gender pronouns because he thinks like every single person is a trans woman or a trans man under the random moment where he gets hit with another trans person, that he dare not make that mistake and accidentally correctly gender them, which is really funny because now he has arrived at being woke on accident, where he's like, he needs to ask people their gender pronouns. Tell me what your gender pronouns are and if you're trans or not before we get started with this conversation, please, so I can correctly misgender you. Oh, dude, that's so sick.
To give me blood. You cannot be forced to give me an organ. You cannot be forced to use your body to sustain
abortion
my
works.
own.
An abortion includes a pre-existing physical connection between the two bodies. So a better example would be the so-called dead violinist example or dying violinist example that was put forward by a philosopher. I can't remember her name. The basic idea there is that you wake up in a room and I'm connected to you, right? And you have some sort of health condition. I'm connected to you and I'm giving you a blood transfusion. And if I remove that, you'll die. Do I have a duty not to remove it? I think there's actually a fairly decent case that I actually do have a duty.
No, you do not. You do not have a duty to be forced to. No,
why are you
because
defining my moral position?
You do not have a duty
My
to
moral
sustain
position is
someone
not
else's
yours,
body
clearly.
using your own. Thank you.
This is the chatter who said he had short legs.
It's been tough to get in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm 5'2".
You made it.
I'm the only one in the room shorter than you. Okay, so honestly, my understanding of Kamala's plan is a return to Roe v. Wade, but in the legislative level. That seems to be the majority opinion by the American people. They were not for the removal, right? Trump is not really for an abortion ban, right?
I mean,
In
he
his
himself has said
personal
he is
level.
not.
Okay, yeah, but unfortunately, the way he governs, he puts those three folks in the Supreme Court. They do it. His vice presidential pick really wants to do it. He's claiming now that everybody wants it to the states. Nobody wanted it. No, that was not the demand. I think people are just kind of interested in protecting their freedoms. It's a bigger discussion about freedom. And I think Kamala Harris is going to be the presidential pick to protect the freedoms.
Okay, so again, I think that we have to define what we think Kamala Harris's position is. I think that it goes well beyond simply restoring Roe versus Wade, for example, which is an extremely flawed legal decision, wide variety of legal scholars ranging from right to left. Ruth Bader Ginsburg used to point out that was a very flawed legal decision.
We can't pretend that like this is like a bipartisan thing. Roe v. Wade was a problem. The bipartisan thing.
No, you might like the results. You might like the results of Roe versus Wade. The actual legal decision is a bad legal decision.
I think that.
That's the end of this claim.
I'm glad you finally made it, though.
Yes, hopefully I can come back for it.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, before we go any further, we want to take a moment to say thanks so much to Straight
Jubilee. One Republican, 25. Kamala Harris border policies will turn America into an unsafe and bankrupt nation. Let's go!
I will let some of my colleagues here in the circle really talk about.
Let's go! Even though Mason is like the 8th Hasanabi head that is actually encountering Ben in this debate so far, but still, let's go! Jubilee for normalizing right-wing positions. Yeah.
About why they appreciate Kamala Harris's right shift when it comes to border policy, trying to deter the amount of people that are coming through the southern border. That's not something I'm particularly passionate about. So I'm more inclined to talk about specifically why you, somebody who purports himself as someone who's uber capitalist, want to remove the labor pool from this country, which always increases to business and economic growth.
Right. So I'm not interested in removing the labor pool from the country as a general rule. However, I don't believe that it's an economic benefit to the United States to bring in a low skill, low education labor pool that is drawing significantly from public benefits. For example, there are very good data to show that there's huge reliance on, say, emergency rooms, educational.
Oh, Mason, this is you should have heard me use this against Ann Coulter or any number of different instances. That is actually 0.09% of overall cost of like that. It is so marginal. It is so unimaginably marginal. That's the only thing that Republicans can correctly identify in terms of like whatever semblance of social safety nets that like undocumented immigrants can take advantage of.
Facilities. Based on the Center for Immigration Studies, there's a net cost to low-wage, low-skill immigration coming into the country.
You're in favor with emergency rooms just deterring people based on what they look like or what might be perceived as someone with a lack of citizenship?
No, I'm very much in favor of limiting the amount of illegal immigration to zero and then allowing a fair bit of legal immigration.
Did I forget to run the ad break, by the way? I did. Here it is now. Thank you, Chatter, for reminding me.
We're interested in decreasing the pool of people and population in this country so there are less emergency room visits, or are you more in favor of actually documenting these people so we're able to track like exactly who is coming through? Like, I'm kind of lacking what your argument is.
It's not about number. It's about the people who are coming in. I believe that everybody who comes into this country should come in through a legal mechanism, and that the United States ought to be able to select the people who are coming in, who are the best, brightest, and most useful to the American population, because that is the prerogative of any nation.
So do you think that the way that we do allow people in through our legalization process, especially with how much egregious obstacles people have to go through, might incentivize people to come through non-legal means?
I mean,
On average, it takes about 10 years for somebody to gain citizenship in this country. And if somebody is fleeing political persecution, I really find it interesting how conservatives always like to talk about the response to certain behaviors instead of what the...
For the record, let's put to bed the emergency room conversation very quickly, okay? He's ass blasting him, and I'm gonna start it from the start for a second. But I do want you guys to know something very important, okay? The Emergency Medical Treatment and Labor Act and to Emergency Medicaid, there is a paper published in the Journal of Health Affairs that shows that undocumented immigrants between the ages of 18 to 64 consumed about $1.1 billion in government healthcare benefits in 2006. This was 0.13% of the government healthcare expenditure. 0.1. Okay. So what Ben is talking about here is literally 0.1% of the overall healthcare expenditure. Okay. That was 2006 though. It doesn't matter. It hasn't like greatly expanded since then. You have to look at the percentages. The American population increased. The American undocumented population increased. The percentage overall did not. Okay, this is undocumented immigrants specifically using emergency rooms. Okay, that is an important number. Okay, that is an important number to understand. Why is it an important number to understand? Because that is one of the only ways in which undocumented immigrants can directly take advantage of like government social safety nets of some sort. Outside of that, they actually pay into the system, but they can't get anything in return. So all of this argument is bunk, which is why Republicans usually lie and say undocumented immigrants cost, tens of billions of dollars to the American taxpayers every year. This is untrue. But why do Republicans say it? It's because they add natural born U.S. citizen children of undocumented immigrants into the equation. But they are not undocumented citizens. So you cannot use them, the children born on U.S. soil that are constitutionally American citizens, in that equation. Okay? Just know the tricks. When people say undocumented immigrants cause tens of billions of dollars in social services, they're not talking about undocumented immigrants. They're talking about the children that are natural born U.S. citizens that are going to public school, that actually are in some way, shape, or form taking advantage of like American social safety nets. Why? They're American citizens. So just remember that. Okay? Hospital lawyer here in Texas attended the CLE today about how we're going to navigate Greg Abbott's directive to create a mandatory register, aka list of undocumented individuals, PHI, provided quarterly to the state on the monetary value that goes towards their care. The point is to deter those people from seeing care. It's gross. Yes. In my recent video, I studied this. Asylum seekers get on average $350 max of 8 months, 12 if from Haiti or Cuba. Also, every single economic boom for the U.S. was following large migration waves. War production relied on immigrants too. Also, they only get housing if it's assigned for homeless because our systems can't tell them apart. Also, if you get benefits as a normal immigrant, you are deported or forced to pay a fine and pay them back. Now, let's get back to the way Mason handled it, which was also good.
Interested in decreasing the pool of people and population in this country so there are less emergency room visits? Or are you more in favor of actually documenting these people so we're able to track exactly who is coming through? I'm kind of lacking what your argument is.
It's not about number. It's about the people who are coming in. I believe that everybody who comes into this country should come in through a legal mechanism, and that the United States ought to be able to select the people who are coming in, who are the best, brightest, and most useful to the American population, because that is the prerogative of any nation.
So do you think that the way that we do allow people in through our legalization process, especially with how much egregious obstacles people have to go through, might incentivize people to come through non-legal means?
I mean,
on average, it takes about 10 years for somebody to gain.
Come on, Ben. Come on, Ben. Come on, Ben. Come on, dog. You forgot? You forgot, dude? You should have a counter to this. God damn. This is like basic. This is like 101 introductory shit, dude. Yes, the process is rigorous and long, which incentivizes undocumented migration patterns. Come on, Ben. Has no one approached him with this? God damn.
Gain citizenship in this country. And if somebody is fleeing political persecution, I really find it interesting how conservatives always like to talk about the response to certain behaviors instead of what the root cause is. When oftentimes United States foreign policy is what creates the destabilization of countries, which is why people try to come to places where they can't get economic benefit. Your employee, Matt Walsh, was kind of schooled on this with Ryan Grimm, where he talked about specifically Haitian policy, where the government of Haiti has been destabilized over and over again by Western imperial nations, so that those citizens are trying to flee something with political persecution.
I mean, is it your contention that anytime there's a destabilized nation across the world, even if the United States had a hand in it, then we then have a moral obligation to take in every citizen of that country who wishes to flee?
No, I think that's a huge straw man. I'm not saying that every single person from a destabilized country needs to take refuge in the United States, but I think it's important to add that context so you can understand why people are coming here.
Yes! Yes! Cook him! Cook him, Mason! Yes! Oh, so good. Oh, that's a Hasanabi head, not that other weirdo with the long hair who was like, let's debate the morality of abortion. Okay? That right there. Oh, that was so good.
case for a different foreign policy. That's not a case for an immigration policy.
The idea is people are coming in here to mooch off of our emergency rooms or mooch off of our social services,
No, I don't think
which
that's
is just
true.
not true at all.
I mean, no,
that's
no,
your
that-
big contention
that is
for why you're...
that is not my contention.
Okay,
My
I'll
contention
let you
is,
speak.
I'm not claiming that the intent of people is to mooch off the system. The result of people is that they may be a net draw on benefits rather than a net.
Okay, that's also false. Again, it's false. Immigrants put more into the system than they take out, to the tune of hundreds of billions of dollars. That's ridiculous. They literally pay taxes. They pay sales taxes. They pay a multitude of different taxes as well. They get like, they are paying into the system and receiving nothing in return. So you're false on that. It's not a boon on the system at all. Okay? Oh, it's so
Contributor
good.
to the economy of the United States or to the culture of the United States, because I want people who are coming here who actually have some sort of belief in, say, American-style freedoms. I don't think everybody from all over the world has the same ideology.
Oh, he's trying to get racist with it. He's trying to get racist with it. It's like, oh, they don't understand our superior American culture. That's another problem. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. It's a boon, not a bane. Sorry. Yeah. They just don't understand our culture. They don't understand our super sick culture. Does it feel like sending a student for your dojo? It's awesome.
With Nick Fuentes, that like a lot of these people just don't have the exact same culture. These people don't have culture and they can't come here. I know that you're making that face. I know that he's an individual that you guys obviously disagree. He's somebody that's like increases calls for violence against people of certain communities. I'm not saying that you're
Nick
identical,
Fuentes,
but I'm saying on this issue particular,
he literally makes videos trying to stab me. So
see this
that's not
disdain
quite the
in your
same thing.
face though. Like this is the type of disdain I have for the exact ideology that you guys are in agreement.
I don't understand why there is anything wrong with the idea that you ought to screen
people can
for their viewpoint. Of course, people can assimilate, but you ought to select from a pool of people who are most likely to assimilate.
Boom. No, wrong. There is no cultural differences by the second generation. It's virtually indistinguishable by the third. It doesn't matter. That's precisely the reason why all those racist dumbasses who were like demographics or destiny are now loving the fact that a shit ton of Hispanic men are voting for Donald Trump. It's just all arguments that are presented towards like undocumented immigrants is ridiculous. It's all stupid. Okay, it does not matter. The idea that like people cannot assimilate to American culture is so stupid. There is no American culture that has not actually benefited from immigration. All American culture, all United States of American culture, as we understand it, is a byproduct of virtually unrestricted immigration. Okay? Yeah, everyone can eat burger. But Ben's being a racist. That's it. He's like, oh, they can't immigrate into they can't assimilate into our culture. This is bullshit. There is no metric that you can apply to any single person in terms of their immediate ability to assimilate to American culture over others. You can't. Okay?
That doesn't mean that everybody has it. Do you think everybody on Earth has an equivalent ideology? Try and get into the country? We shouldn't.
It has nothing to do with ideology, Ben. That's also silly as like there are diverse groups of people that are coming over the border. Some of them are conservative. Many of them are conservative, as a matter of fact, and some are not. Are we supposed to restrict immigration patterns on the virtue of ideology? What the fuck are we doing? Like what? How would you set that standard? Well, we already kind of do that. If you want to become an American citizen, you have to literally sign a paper that says that you've never been a communist. The U.S. does screen for ideology, not Nazi ideology, but communist ideology.
Screen for ideology at all.
How would you screen for ideology? Like a basic test to show what people actually value when it comes to attributes?
Sure.
What would that test look like?
I mean, I think that would look very much like a citizenship test.
Okay, great. Fine. The problem isn't necessarily a citizenship test in and of itself. The problem is that there is no citizenship test for people who have to wait 10 years to be able to get to that point. Okay? The problem is that there needs to be a faster processing for people that should be able to, as long as they do not have any sort of criminal background or anything like that, can actually legally work inside of the United States of America, and then they can also continue along their pathway to getting a full-blown citizenship.
But this is not determining the ideologies of this person coming in. These are
see, the take is crazy because they already screened for your ideology. They literally asked me if I was a communist in my paperwork. Yeah. You can't say that you're a communist in your paperwork. Yeah, there you go. Question 5B on page number 6. Advocated or supported for any of the following. Been a member or any of the following group or associated in any way, shape, or form. Been a member involved in any way associated with a communist or totalitarian party anywhere in the world. Advocated or supported or promoted any of the following. Been a member of, involved in any way associated with any group anywhere in the world. Opposition to all organized government, world communism, the establishment of the United States of a totalitarian dictatorship, the overthrow by force or violence of other unconstitutional means of the government of the United States are all forms of law. The unlawful assaulting or killing any officer or officers of the government of the United States. The unlawful damage, injury, or destruction of property or sabotage. It's so funny. Who the f would say yes to that? Like, who's like, oh man, I got to this stage of my citizenship test and then I accidentally clicked yes. It's over. Sabotage? Question mark? Anyway. Werner von Braun got the pass, though. Yeah, obviously. It says communist, dog. That's what they care about way more than, like, you know, fighting against American soldiers at any point.
This is a determination.
I mean, they at least have to understand the
that
basic.
People can actually ask.
No, but people would actually have to understand the basic ideology.
How many
of the
U.S.-born citizens do you think could pass a citizenship test?
This part got a little, got a little out of control. But he cooked them.
Good to meet you.
Kamala Harris supports the bipartisan border bill that was negotiated by conservative Senator
This is not a good victory. This is not the W. Again, no gendered greeting. Yeah, I know. This is not a W, man. It's not a W. Wait, so we don't like this guy? I mean, we'll see. Maybe he cooks Ben. I don't know. I just don't. I think it is a shallow victory to have over Ben Shapiro if you are arguing on the virtues of a right-wing border bill that literally establishes the underlying premise that immigrants constitute a national security threat.
James Lankford and supported by Mitch McConnell. Do you not support that bill? And
I do not support that bill.
So what is your solution then?
I mean, my solution is that this actually ought not be done in a comprehensive fashion. So I have a general critique of the way that we deal with immigration in the country. Instead of trying to solve all problems at once, which is very likely to end in nothing, what we ought to first do is we ought to close the border.
And but then the border is closed right now. Do you agree?
The border is certainly not closed right now.
What do you mean? There's a small trickle of people coming over. The numbers are similar to the end of the Trump administration, no?
Well, now because of executive order, they have been reduced significantly, but...
Do you not agree that the same number as the end of the Trump administration?
Right now,
yes.
It is on a monthly basis, but that's after letting in 6.5 million illegal immigrants.
So do you think Trump was failing then at the end of his administration?
I think that Donald Trump did a better job than Joe Biden. He certainly did not do a perfect job on illegal immigration.
So Joe Biden is matching with Donald Trump.
This guy's a Reddit orbiter, Israel defender who got mad at you for being too pro-Palestine. Yeah, I remember. I know. He's a boner Chelly orbiter. But I was still willing to give him the benefit of the doubt. I thought he was going to cook Ben on not the virtues of like a right-wing border bill, but on the arguments that are like the underlying fundamentals of his the fundamental behind what he's saying is that like immigrants constitute a threat, a national security threat to the United States of America. Not only a national security threat, but also an economic burden. Both of these arguments are false. You don't have to bring up Kamala Harris's idiotic right-wing bill that Joe Biden presented originally to make that point, right? But, we'll let him
Trump
cook,
is doing right now. So
after
you
letting
applaud
in
Joe Biden?
After letting in 6.5 to 11 million illegal immigrants, I don't think you get to fill in that gap by doing it like 4 months of good border policy.
Those are border encounters. We don't know how many of those people were turned away. We don't know how many of those people are still in this country. But those people make up a significant portion of our labor force as well, including in states like yours, Florida, where they make up like 5%.
So your argument is that it's not happening and it's good that it is.
It's not happening? What do you mean?
That the illegal immigration pool is not very large, and also it's good that it is large.
I'm saying you guys make up numbers all the time. It's like
that
20, 30 million.
That's from the Wall Street Journal. I'm not making up that number.
Well, Donald Trump said he wants to deport 20 million of these guys. What do you think of that?
I mean, I think that if we were going to look at deportations, we obviously ought to tranche that out based on criminal record. We ought to tranche it out based on usefulness to the economy. I think we ought to look at each person individually and determine whether they ought to be deported or not.
So that is probably going to lead to a small trickle of people being kicked out of here. So that's not going to accomplish your goal?
Well, I mean, who said that my goal was to mass deport 20 million people all at once?
So you want 20 million undocumented immigrants to stay in America?
No, no, that is not what I'm saying. I failed to see how.
Okay, never mind. He's actually okay. He's cooking him. Okay, good. Never mind. I'm back. That's what Donald Trump did say. So, okay, lib redemption arc, divorcelli, dick rider redemption arc. I'm tapped in. Okay, it's good. You're using your debate lording skill for good now. Okay.
You got from, I would like to go through one by one in the same way that we do IRS tax forms for literally every American who pays taxes in the United States, and go through illegal immigrants and determine who ought to stay in the country and who not ought to stay in the country.
So what army is going to go over these 20 million people, and with what resources? Where are you going to detain them? How are you going to get them out of the country?
I mean, you'll detain them and you'll deport them, increasing the resources of ICE. The biggest problem.
Also good.
With regard
ICE, similar to the bill that was rejected by you and...
Well, I mean, you're neglecting the part of the bill that allowed a baseline of 5,000 illegal immigrants border encounters before the executive branch automatically...
That's not illegal border encounters. What the That's just regular border crossings of people that have a legal claim for asylum, okay? The Border Act would have allowed the Secretary of Homeland Security to block entry and remove illegal immigrants from 100 miles of the southwest border if daily crossings average 4,000 over 7 days. That part is also insanely restrictive. That part is also up, man. This is why I hate this bill, by the way, just so you understand. This is one of the many different reasons why I hate this dumbass, right-wing ass, stupid ass, lighter Nazi version of the same dumb bullshit that Republicans are pushing for as bill. Okay? Those aren't just illegal immigrants. Those are people with a legal asylum claim, dude. What the? And in order to process a legal asylum claim, you have to cross into the American state, okay? That's crazy. Also, 100 miles of the southwest border is also terrifying because that's like Constitution-free zones to begin with as well. Constitution-free zones isn't like BORTAC is operating. They can legally, I guess, or illegally operate in those areas. They do not have the same restrictions on unlawful search and seizure. That's why it's called a Constitution-free zone. And they have very little legal limits. They can just like stop and frisk and be like, you are apprehended and detained under the suspicion that you are Mexican looking. No, this part is only for the southwest border. 100 miles over the southwest border. This part is only for the southwest border. 100 miles over the southwest border, not the real Constitution-free zones, which basically is like where 90% of Americans live in the United States of America right now. 100 miles from international airports, 100 miles from any water, land, or border entry to the United States of America. That is basically just the entirety of where people live in the United States of America. But that's not what this is. This is just one version of that. Why would the U.S. government agree to this asylum stuff when we literally ruined most of the countries, our landmass hemisphere, giving everyone a valid asylum claim? Are they stupid? We want slaves. That's it. That's literally it. Yeah. Like it's like slavery 2. Slavery 1 is still practiced. Slavery 1 is still very much practiced in the criminal justice system. It's legal. And this is like slavery 2.
Automatically kicked in border enforcement.
So
I've been down
don't
to the
you
border,
agree?
okay? Like I went down to the border, and let me tell you what I saw at the border, and then we can go. Okay, so
saw with your own eyes.
Not just saw with my own eyes. Talked to the border patrol agents. Okay, the way that the Biden administration was treating the border for the vast majority of their term was to treat a claim of asylum without evidence as evidence that the person.
To be fair, wasn't that 2024 Act only needed according to Democrats to allow adequate processing under the current imperfect processing structure? No. That wasn't put in there by Democrats.
Ought to be given asylum. So the first priority was for Border Patrol to be activated to go to places where Mexican drug cartels were leaving people at the border en masse, and then to process those people and let them into the country within 72 hours. The goal of this for the Mexican drug cartels was to clear large swaths of the border of Border Patrol agents specifically, so that in those unoccupied areas, fentanyl and drugs could then be passed, human trafficking could then be passed in those unoccupied.
It literally was? What are you talking about? Explain what you mean. Unless you're talking about Ben.
Occupied areas.
So you mentioned these cartels. You agree these cartels are profiting off human trafficking, right?
Of course.
So why don't we open up legal means for these people to come in here? Then they don't have to give the cartels money.
Yes.
They're making more money off human trafficking right now because of our...
Yes! 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 That's the argument. Exactly. The current process that we have literally benefits the cartels. That's it. That's a good ass take. Why are random debate lords on Twitch or on TikTok better than the Democratic Party at communicating this? The only person I've ever seen within the Democratic Party that has correctly presented this problem is Greg Kazar, who I'm going to have on the broadcast next Tuesday. Okay? I'm very much in the tank for him becoming the leader of the Progressive Caucus. Hopefully that happens. I'm telling you right now, the only person I've ever heard say those words outside of like myself or some random TikToker or random Twitch streamer within the confines of the Democratic Party is him. It is crazy. It is crazy because it is abject reality. What the are we doing?
Our immigration system doesn't allow more people, and the Republicans do not have a bill to allow more people to come here legally.
I mean, so your answer to illegal immigration is just magically legalize everyone.
No, it's to open up legal paths so these people don't have to leave their livelihood in these countries and carry a bag and walk through the jungle with their kids.
By the logic that you're using, we could make murder absolutely not a thing by simply pretending that murder is now legal.
Did you just compare people voluntarily coming over thousands of miles in an effort to better themselves and have a better life for themselves and their children that actually benefit the American economy in very meaningful ways to murder? Like the process in which you document an undocumented person is the same as legalizing murder. How is this the best debate brain that the right has to offer, dude? Oh, what's next? You want to legalize murder? Owned epic debate lord, dude. What the are you saying? This is the peak? This is peak intelligentsia on the right? That is crazy. That's crazy, dude. That is the dumbest. That's like an argument a 14-year-old would bring up, okay? When they're panicking. Dad, what's next? You want to legalize murder? Oh, you want to process migrants that are coming over the border faster? What's next? You want to legalize murder? Yeah, that's the same. These two things are weighed in the same way. I hope he cooks him. I hope, what's his name? I am not famous or whatever. By the way, yeah, why is Divorcelli fan cooking Ben more than Mr. Two-Time Divorce himself? Great question. Yeah. Here you have a Divorcelli fan literally chopping Ben up a little bit in way more meaningful ways than Mr. Divorcelli himself did, where he just sat there and got owned and agreed with him. I'm not really important. I'm really important, I think. That's his name. Yeah, you're right.
What?
Your suggestion is that millions of illegal immigrants ought to just become legal immigrants and then magically this would solve the entire problem.
We have failed these people. We have benefited tremendously off exploiting these people. You and I, we have benefited from these people working hard. They just want to be here and be a part of our country. I can't think of anything more American than that.
I'm not doubting the willingness of people to come to the country. I am doubting the incentive structure that draws people to the country with rich array of social benefits that didn't exist.
What is that incentive structure?
That incentive structure is things like Medicaid, things like free schooling.
You think someone's going to leave their home in Venezuela to come here and leech off our Medicaid? These people want to work. These people want to live, man.
Okay, then if they sign a contract saying they don't receive social benefits, they're more than welcome to stay.
Oh, well, sadly, they would take benefits that they were available to them if they could come out of the shadows, and they would actually pay more taxes and contribute more to society. Let me ask you, if there's
passionate hands, no worries.
Not bad. That's not a bad way to manage that. Counter. By the way, Ben is such a rapacious little freak, dude. What a slimy little monster that he just snuck that in. He's like, well, it's okay if they come into the country and they can't use our social safety nets. Well, okay, first of all, they can't, okay? Right now, you're describing the current process, which apparently you have a problem with, okay? What a little freakish monster he is. Because what you just described is literally what's going on right now, you piece of shit. They can't take advantage of our social safety nets. Dumb. They can't. So why do you act like you have a problem with that when you just demonstrated that you don't?
I'm not doubting the
be here and be a part of our country. I'm not.
By simply pretending that murder is now legal.
What?
You're suggesting this would solve the entire problem.
We have failed these people. We have benefited tremendously off exploiting these people. You and I, we have benefited from these people working hard. They just want to be here and be a part of our country. I can't think of anything more American than that.
I'm not doubting the willingness of people to come to the country. I am doubting the incentive structure that draws people to the country with rich array of social benefits that didn't exist.
What is that incentive structure?
That incentive structure is things like Medicaid, things like free schooling.
Yeah, this is the reason. This guy actually doesn't like you. Yeah, I know. I don't care. I don't care that he doesn't like me. He's doing a great job here. The only notes I have on it is right here when Ben says they can take advantage of our Medicaid and free schooling. That's a lie. They cannot. That's actually not correct. Undocumented migrants cannot take advantage of these things. And that is precisely the reason why. I know for a fact that Ben here, when he turns around and still advocates for deportation or still advocates for, Kamala Harris destroying and making the country bankrupt, is actually lying.
Think someone's going to leave their home in Venezuela to come here and leech off our Medicaid? These people want to work. These people want to live, man.
Okay, then if they sign a contract saying they don't receive social benefits, they're more than welcome to stay.
Yeah, when he says they sign a contract where they say they don't need to receive social benefits, that literally is the current process. But Ben still wants to, deport them. That's the current process. Undocumented migrants can't take advantage of these things. What is this? My ranking of debaters: number 1, Muhammad. What, like the prophet? Number 2, Guy. Number 3, One Hand Politics. Number 4, Andrew. Number 5, Skylar. I don't know who these people are. I don't know which is which. I don't understand the logic behind thinking someone has to uproot their life in a country they leave, their family, and risk everything to leech off of Medicaid or all things. Yeah, bro, I'm a legal immigrant of an F1 status, and I can't take social benefits. What benefits are undocumented migrants going to get? Exactly. They can't. That's the point. So Ben right here is 100% demonstrating that he doesn't have an issue with the current illegal immigration structure. Okay? This goes against his argument that Kamala Harris's current, unsafe border policies are going to bankrupt the nation. Well, clearly you don't have a problem with it. You just said you don't have a problem with it. So the best thing that the IRI, I'm really important, could have said in that situation is, well, it seems like you don't have a problem with the current order of business in terms of undocumented migrants because they can't take advantage of our social safety nets. So there you go.
Well, sadly, they would take benefits that they were available to them if they could come out of the shadows, and they would actually pay more taxes and contribute more to society. Let me ask you, if there's
passionate hands, no worries.
This also was a decent argument as well. I'm just saying that the better argument in this situation, if you want to fucking make him really squirm, is to just be like, well, you just advocated for the current order of business.
If there's an accident, and let's say your wife's in an accident, a car accident, the only person that witnessed it is an undocumented immigrant. They're not coming forward to be a witness, Ben. Doesn't that trouble you?
This is the reason that I should allow.
Also a good argument. Damn. Okay, he's cooking. This is also correct. This is the reason. This is the underlying reason as to why sanctuary cities exist. A policy that was first implemented and advocated for by law enforcement. Fun fact, many people don't know this. People think sanctuary cities, like, what the fuck is that? That's some woke-ass libtard policy. No, as a matter of fact, it was the local law enforcement that wanted sanctuary cities to be implemented so they could directly communicate with the undocumented citizens, because the undocumented citizens would routinely not report crimes to the police out of the very real fear that they would get handed over to federal law enforcement and INS would ship them out of the country. Yeah, he's right. That is the real reason why sanctuary cities exist. That was very good. Good job to another point for IRI.
Millions and millions of illegal immigrants into the country is on the off chance that they might be a witness?
It's one reason that these people are being treated as second-class citizens, even though they benefit you and I.
Can I ask a question? What is your standard for whether someone should be allowed into the country?
My standard?
Yes.
What do you mean my standard? Like as far as their education or their ability?
Yes. You're creating immigration policy. Who should be allowed?
Oh, that's crazy. I don't know. No. That's bullshit. What do you mean a standard? Did your great-grandparents have a standard when they came in here on a boat? At some point, every single American citizen that is on U.S. soil right now came here through an identical process to what you're talking about when you talk about like the Honduran man or the Guatemalan abuelita, okay? Every single one. Did they have a standard for it? They didn't, okay?
Allowed into the country.
I think we should allow a wide variety of people. This country, everyone. Not everybody starts out as a doctor, Ben. Some people start out doing menial tasks.
So everyone.
Yeah, there you go. That's a decent argument, but you can also literally point to every single American now, with the exception of some that were brought here after they were kidnapped and trafficked and enslaved, and some that already were here that were genocided, with the exception of those two categories, virtually every single American citizen was a criminal of some sort that came here by boat and they became American citizens. Okay.
So you have no limits. How about numbers? Do you have any number limit? No numerical limit.
20,000 people die or retire in this country a day. There's only 10,000 births. We need more people.
I agree. That's why we should all have more babies.
So, okay, well, guess what? People aren't going to have them because you're not in.
Divorcelli fans not realizing they're Hasanabi heads? I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't go that far.
Incentivizing it. Kamala Harris is with her things like $6,000 child tax credit. Meanwhile, you guys are just trying to cause more problems and make it harder.
Like, I think that one of the major differences between us is, aside from like being a mercenary that will debate on any issue just for the thrill of debate itself, there are certain things that I find completely unconscionable, defending genocide being one of them. And another one is just like being bigoted, even if it's for like funsies. And I know that a lot of people will turn around and be like, oh, you say gusano or whatever the fuck, right? To fake care about certain slurs that you consider to be really bad slurs. But it's like, I think I have a pretty decent standard. It's like, if you're a white dude and you advocate to say the N-word with a soft A, like, no, I'm not, you're not a serious person. I'm not interested. I'm not interested in whatever the fuck else you have to say. And I think that fan base, for the most part, aside from obviously genocide denial, just don't really care about those sorts of things. Don't really care about those sorts of things at all. And only care about it from the optics perspective. And even then, they just don't really care. Like, you have to, at the very least, not give a shit about those sorts of things in order to still maintain being a fan. Anyway, he's an anti-Zionist right now. Oh, shut the fuck up. No, he's not. Get the fuck out of here, dude. Come on, dude. Okay. I guess his fans are finally coming to the reality. What is this kind of related, but D getting cooked by Gideon Levy if you didn't see it? Israeli journalist tells the truth to a Zionist propagandist? Oh my God.
Different levels. You are talking about the diplomatic level, and I'm talking about basic justice, about basic equality, about basic values. And this interests me 10 times more than what Abbas declared or not. I want to live in a just state. And I don't live in a just state. I live in an apartheid state. And this will not be solved through diplomatic arrangements. It will be solved, first of all, when Israel will realize what we have done to the Palestinian people over the last 100 years. Until we realize this, we cannot get to anything. And we don't realize it. We deny it. And you really reflect all the talking points of the Israeli propaganda, which is fine. I was in your place.
Yeah, Boner Shelley fans about to be like, he owned him because he was silent, bro.
When I was young, I believed in everything you said, until I realized that my brain was washed for years. I was told we are the deity, and they are the Goliath, that they want to kill us, that they were born to kill, that we are the just ones and only the just ones, that we are the ultimate.
He's going nonverbal to own Gideon Levy.
Victims, all those things I was told, until I started to look around and to realize that I was brainwashed. But why would I have the right to settle everywhere, and they don't have the right to settle everywhere in their land? Why? Because we are what?
Yeah, Divorcelli isn't even indoctrinated from an early age. He like literally used to have the exact opposite positions and like all the way up until like 2019 on Israel. He just picked it up post October 7 when he came out of the gate swinging and be like, oh, they just got to finish the genocide. Ha ha ha. And then was basically firmly committed to that position for the past 12 months. So that makes it even stupider. To be like a bandwagoner.
You are comfortable with the state that the mass killing, I don't want to use the word genocide, even though this.
He believes U.S. and Israel sidestep Palestinians caused October 7. Oh, wow. He hate watched so many of my videos. He finally learned what the truth is. He believes Israel's doing war crimes like siege, blockade, and bombings. He believes that the occupation of West Bank and Gaza is indefensible and needs to stop. He believes Netanyahu's a war criminal. Sounds like an anti-Zionist to me. I guess he watched all of my videos as he was cutting drama about how anti-Semitic I was, while simultaneously doing like Holocaust jokes and shit on the side, where he accidentally arrived at the correct position. Also, I don't really believe you at all, but that's fine. Yeah. Didn't he go to Israel? Yeah. He. This is what debate lording does. You end up having no clue what you're arguing for. Yeah. He said, speaking to Arab Knesset members changed him in Israel. I can link if you want. Yeah, I don't really give a shit about him seeing the tide shift and then still full tilt trying to take me out and simultaneously being like, I've actually come to my own conclusions here. Mr. Cookies are used to make rockets literally 3 months ago. Yeah. If Israel is also literally losing Divorcelli, who basically attached himself at the hip to their actions, oh no, what do they got left? Brianna Wu? Brianna Wu and Noah Smith, the last defense for Israel. Yeah, no wonder they're trying to take out content creators on Twitch and shit at this point. The desperation. So what happened? Was he groomed into being a pro-Israel guy at the age of like 37, dude? Is that what happened? By reading Wikipedia pages, he radicalized himself? Don't forget about Shy. That's true. We have Shy Davide. We have Eve Fartlow. That's so funny. Yeah, when Brianna Wu learned that trans girls cannot marry men, like straight trans women can't marry a straight man in Israel, it's like, damn, if only you guys spent more of your time actually listening to what I was saying for months and months and months, instead of only listening to clip shit out of context and yell about it. Perhaps you could have known all of these things early on and you wouldn't have come across like a dumbass 12 months into a genocide.
Genocidal elements who killed masses of people in Gaza, who distracted the whole Gaza Strip, who is now doing the same in Lebanon. You are comfortable with this. You really believe that it's all because of self-defense, the right for self-defense. You really believe that Israel is still the victim and the Palestinians are the evil ones. I don't know where to start even.
I mean, I'm not comfortable with it. It needs to change, but just paying lip service to it and saying it's a horrible state of affairs doesn't do anything. If that would have worked, then we would have seen peace between Israel and the Palestinians 24 years ago with the boss. We would have seen peace, with Arafat. We would have seen peace with the boss. We would have seen peace with the Great March of Return. It just doesn't happen. There has to be.
Wow. How sympathetic. Yeah, totally anti-Zionist. The Palestinians were never a real partner in peace. Very cool anti-Zionist sentiment being expressed by a person who does seem more sympathetic now. I will admit, he is not saying we should nuke Gaza. That still would not be a genocide. That was his position, 3 months ago? It was before the change. Yeah, liberal Zionist is going to be over as Israel keeps genocide. The GOAT, it was before the change. You are delusional, okay?
Leadership that takes a brave step to change the state of affairs. And until both sides feel that impetus.
Yeah, I'm glad that he learned that Erdogan was the president of Turkey and not Israel in that process.
That pressure, nothing is going to change. Just pointing at the situation and going, this is so bad. It hasn't done anything yet. Why would we expect it to do anything in the future?
My main complaint to you is that you look at both sides as symmetrical, and they are not. I try to explain it.
I love Gideon Levy. He's right. And you know, you can tell why I love Gideon Levy, because his words have also informed my perspective. Of course, long before October 7, but that's besides the point, you know? It almost feels like if you did some reading whatsoever, and developed a better understanding, you wouldn't have looked like a clown-ass genocide defender for 12 fucking months.
Trying again, we are not two symmetrical parties who are struggling over one piece of land. Long time not. We are the brutal, forceful, strong, regional state, regional superpower vis-a-vis people who lives without any protection under the very brutal Israeli boot for decades now. And whatever he tried failed. They tried the resistance, they tried diplomacy, they tried the legal arena. Wherever they try, they have no understanding. And how do you get out of it? If you deal with both parties as equals, you get nowhere because we are not equals. There is the occupier and there is its victim. And nobody can deny now anymore after so many years.
Lamau, after watching your file, I feel less bad about stealing your talking points because I realize you're just stealing them from people smarter than you too. Dog, it's called reading. What are you talking about? Like, you just described the process of reading and learning. Yes, I stole the talking points of Rashid Khalidi. What the? How about you steal the 3-minute ad break at the top of the hour, bitch? So when Divorcelli inevitably arrives at the conclusion that like it's kind of making him look really bad to be like full tilt a genocide defender, and more people are anti-genocide and more cognizant of Israel's behaviors, will his fan base actually reflect on the past 12 months of endless harassment that they engaged at the behest of him and then turn around and go, you know what, Hasan, you were right. I'm actually a fan of yours now. I was wrong to shit on you over and over again. Or will they continue on their endless conquest and try to find, you know, I don't know, whatever random thing that they can really needle in on? Do you think he would delete his past videos? No, he doesn't give a shit. He's a shameless, monstrous piece of shit. He's a goddamn mercenary. This is what I've been telling you, okay? It is not shocking to me if he like actually did legitimately change his perspective, or at least like change the way he communicates about these issues in an effort to like win over a new fan base. It's gross. Anyway, they'll just say you hurt the Palestinian cause with your terrorism or shit like that. Yeah, except I can see your background. When you say stuff like that, I can just like click at your social footprint and see you saying unhinged Islamophobic shit, like trying to change your stance into they had an entire anti-Islam arc all over their Reddit. It was literally the thing that forced me out of their community. I got messages saying I'm a pedophile because of my religion. No, I'm not exaggerating. Like, nobody cares. These people do not have real convictions. That's the point. They're there for the thrill of debate. They will literally debate both sides of an argument with the same intensity. Do you understand? They will debate both sides of an argument with the same intensity because it's not about the actual morality of the situation. It's about the pure blood sport. This is why I despise debate perverts. This is why I kind of like Dean, because it does seem like he has like an actual moral rudder steering him. And he's not just like doing debates for the thrill of debates. Okay? I'm not in the business of cultivating a bunch of Kiwi Farms 4chan style basement dwelling losers so that they can prop me up and keep making it seem like I am this like intellectual beacon. Okay, that's not my purpose. My purpose is to get you to change your mind. Like, if I were to swap my positions with the same intensity that Boner Chelly has over the course of like from 2019 to 2022, right? I would expect my entire audience to despise me. Okay, I am trying to give you the tools so that you can also advocate for these sorts of things on your own. My goal isn't to just simply win debates. Let's continue.
Harder for people to raise families.
Okay, as a person with 4 children, I can promise you I have a very, very strong incentive structure in allowing people to have more kids and incentivizing people to have more kids. Because I wish that government benefits were more effective in doing this. They simply have not been in particular areas of Europe. There's a different argument than the illegal immigration argument. When we're talking about illegal immigration, you seem to be making an argument there ought to be no baseline standard for who gets in and no baseline cap for how many people get in.
I'm not saying that.
So
we can come up with a figure. We can come up with numbers. So now, I'm not a lawmaker. That's what we elect people to go do and work out those figures.
I need
Republicans are just fighting everything.
I need some standard.
You need me to come up with a number.
No.
Your goal isn't to win debates because you were scared of debating anyone other than teenagers and video essayists. So this is precisely the reason why I despise the Boner Chelly community and just like debate lord communities anyway. They have like talking points that they associate with each individual, and then they just engage in like a serial harassment campaign. And even though it's like patently untrue, I interview Knesset members, academics, scholars, journalists, people who are literally on the ground, direct victims, activists, community organizers, on a regular basis, but that doesn't fit your agenda because you only know me through clips that you've watched. And I've also debated many people, right? Including, but not limited to, professional commentators and the like. And the issue here is when it doesn't actually fit your overarching understanding of me, then you just like resort to these idiotic talking points. It's great to see you researching the topic a lot on Twitter is like a really silly take, especially because seemingly researching this topic on Twitter, which is not what I do, but even if it was what I did, has caused me to arrive at conclusions that were far smarter and far more empathetic than your sociopathic debate pervert cult leader. You know, I also, the moment that you bring this sort of shit up, the moment that you even invoke the name of this weirdo, his fan base immediately swarms you. It's gross. It's not good. It doesn't make you look right. It doesn't make him look right. It just makes you look like a gross loser. This too, look at this. They have alerts on or something? No, they just have no life, dude. They're online 24/7. They're all like, it is a collective of like 45-year-old IT guys living in the Midwest and Europe as well that have literally nothing going on in their lives. So they spend every waking moment fighting the battles of their cult leader. It's nuts. I want to help you get out of this system. I want to help you get out of this hole that you're in because no healthy, happy human being behaves like this. Okay? Why do you concede the research a topic on Twitter point? You're reading real-time reporting from accredited journalists who use Twitter as their primary means of reporting. It doesn't matter. Even though that is the case, it doesn't fucking matter. Those people will go, oh, you read on Twitter. It's like, okay, dude. Well, I guess Twitter is more valid as a means of breaking news than reading Wikipedia articles after the fact to like scour talking points. Your most deranged haters are EUD fans. Sound like Nazis half the time. I know. It's like the Swedish, I'm a social democrat, and that's why we have to kill the Muslims.
Okay, a number or a characteristic or some sort of standard for who you would let into the country. Because right now, all I'm hearing is you just want lots of people to come into the country without any standard and any cap on the number.
No, not at all. I want people to come here who want to work, who want to be a part of this country, and we all benefit from that.
Okay,
do you think you're not benefiting from these undocumented people? Who do you think is going to build the houses that we need with our shortage?
So do you think the people who come into the country should be eligible for all social benefits?
If they're contributing and they're allowed to contribute fully, right now they're not. They're using other people's social security numbers to pay social security tax and Medicare, and they're not able to get those benefits in the long run.
So again, I'm wondering how you're balancing the cost benefit to the American body politic if what you're suggesting is that day one you arrive in the country and now you're eligible for all social benefits.
I'm not saying day one
with
you're
no
eligible to all
education,
social
low wage
benefits.
labor.
Well, we can work all these details out. You're fighting over the
that's the core of that's the core of the argument.
Really, you're upset that somebody who comes to this country and works hard and makes your life better and
the reason why I would have cut what Ben's argument was short with like, well, that's the current process that exists right now, and it kind of seems like you want to deport all these migrants, is because now there's no reason to have this conversation. But if you want to have this conversation, then that's also fine, right? Social safety nets being afforded to undocumented migrants that become documented is no different than social safety nets being afforded to a new child that is born on U.S. soil. There is no difference between a human being that was born on the other side of a border, okay? They're still human beings. They still have dreams. They still have goals. Some of them are productive. Some of them are unproductive. It doesn't matter. It's ridiculous. Considering that there's no lump sum of labor that is like readily available, it doesn't fucking matter if they come into the country and they still get all of the rights and responsibilities that a full-blown citizen has.
Cheaper is going to get Social Security 40 years from now?
No, not Social Security 40 years from now. Medicaid today.
So wouldn't you rather than get Medicaid and get preventative care than go to the hospital?
You would have said that there's still a problem with security? No, there isn't. As a matter of fact, if we actually process migrants at a more expedient rate, you would literally cut out a lot of this undocumented immigration. And if you were to do that, you could literally personally figure out if someone had a criminal background or not, or what the severity of that crime was. Having said that, currently, without any sort of protections, undocumented migrants quite literally are responsible for less crime per capita than documented U.S.-born native citizens, okay? Significantly less crime, as a matter of fact. So the idea that like immigrants constitute a grave threat to American national security has never been the case. It's completely made up. But many people believe it because Republicans say it without any evidence whatsoever. They rely on anecdotes that are powerful and emotional. Oh, this immigrant raped someone. This immigrant killed someone. When the overall numbers are obviously so tiny in comparison to how many homicides and manslaughter cases occur in the United States of America yearly. It's literally 26 in the fiscal year of 2024, by the way. 26. Donald Trump says 100,000 migrants. Donald Trump says 100,000 deaths are migrants are responsible for 100,000 deaths a year in America. That's fake. It's bullshit. It's made up. So no, they do not actually constitute a national security threat whatsoever. So you don't know who's raping? What do you mean you don't know who's raping? What the fuck are you talking about? You think rape happens and then like police just don't prosecute it because they're like, that might be a migrant. Like, what do you mean? Let's not prosecute this one, sir. After all, we love migrants. Is that what you think is going on? They're making an assessment on whether or not someone is legal status? Or do you have this insane opinion in your mind that like all rapes happening on U.S. soil are directly by migrants?
It'll work. Cost you,
I would prefer
the taxpayer, 10 times more money?
My point, as it has been from the beginning, is that you need screening procedures for immigration.
So you're saying Border Patrol is failing then to screen these people properly? Is that the accusation you're making?
I'm making the case that Border Patrol certainly is failing.
How do you know that? Because you talked to a couple Border Patrol agents? You know, that is so insulting to our Border Patrol who's fighting every day on the front lines. You think they're not screening these people and they're being bamboozled by some people claiming asylum and tricking them?
No, because literally today, the FBI announced that an Afghan national was let in without vetting and tried to plan a terrorist attack on election day.
One guy.
Oh, it's just one. So
one guy.
I mean, it's true. It's one guy. What do you mean? Yeah. That's ridiculous. You're talking about 20 million people. I'll take those odds. 20 million contributing members of society versus one random person. Like 20 million, if the number that Ben is suggesting is correct. Yeah, one guy and he was stopped. I'll take those numbers. That's crazy, especially when there's no alternative. As a matter of fact, if you wanted to, the better process to do here would be, making sure that every single migrant that's crossing the border is processed evenly and adequately. Therefore, you know if they have a criminal background or not.
You know how many terrorists were caught by the border under Trump?
There are over three. There are over three.
At least we're catching them.
There are over.
That's a good one.
There are over three. First of all, it's not true because a huge number of people, we don't know who they are coming across the border between ports of entry. Second of all, you're talking in this country right now at least 300,000 minors. We have no idea where they are.
That is nonsense. That is not nonsense. No, it is. It is ICE has lost track of them because it's voluntary for them to keep in touch with the system. They are not lost. They're released to their sponsors who have to go through background checks. You have no idea what you're talking about.
They don't.
You think 300,000?
That's a good line. That is correct. That's good shit.
Minors are lost in America? Are you crazy?
Yeah, dude.
I'm saying that
he's right. That's good. That's also good. Damn, he's cooking him. Respect. Once again, fuck you for all the dumb shit that you say about Israel and me being anti-Semitic or whatever, but you're cooking his ass, and I respect that. Okay, it is that's great. Once again, by the way, another Destiny orbiter actually chopping up Ben Shabibo here in ways that Destiny never did. So respect, extra respect.
I'm not saying that. The Department of Justice is saying that.
Next thing you're going to tell me there's 19,000 murderers, right? Is that the next talking point?
No, that is not the next talking point.
Okay.
But you're going to have to explain to me why it is okay for literally tens of thousands of minors to be checked out to majors, to people who are above majority age, and then for the government to not, when I say lose track, I don't mean minors
checked out to their sponsor who goes through a background check. Is that what you mean?
They do not go through.
How do you know that?
Because they're not checking in.
By the way, 25v1 here, and they're like kind of ripping Ben. Like, I know I'm biased, but like this guy, I'm not inclined to favor at all. You know what I mean? Of course, I prefer him over Ben Shapiro every day of the week, but like, he's no fan of mine. I never thought that I'd be a fan of his, but they are ripping Ben, dude. Holy shit. I think the trans man set the stage so well. Like, I don't want to get into like body science or anything like that, but I think when Ben had the chair pulled out from underneath him with the trans man reveal. You know what I mean? Now it's like, now they're just taking turns and just having fun. Shane disarmed him so well. Yeah, it's crazy, dude.
A huge number of people.
Oh, it's voluntary. Why does our law allow for it to be voluntary then if it's not working?
The law should not allow for it to be voluntary.
Oh, okay.
And in fact, in some cases, it is not voluntary. And in fact, human trafficking is going on at scale.
It sounds like...
Yeah, the only people doing human trafficking at scale is ICE, by the way, but that's a different point. Or the Sound of Freedom guy. The Sound of Freedom guy. Oh my Lord. Oh, Jesus Christ. Let's look at that real quick. Remember when everyone was like, Sound of Freedom? You don't want to watch it because you're afraid? God, we've had so many arcs of like conservative mania in this country that we kind of forget sometimes. Where is it? Where's what's his name from the Sound of Freedom? Anti-trafficking activist Tim Ballard hit with human trafficking allegations in federal lawsuit. The former head of Operation Underground Railroad and inspiration for Sound of Freedom has already sued the plaintiffs for defamation in a previous suit. Tim Ballard, the anti-trafficking activist whose wildly exaggerated missions aboard. Is QAnon still even a thing? Yeah. Yeah, he was a white hat child sex trafficker, okay? You don't understand. The women once again lay out the narrative of being recruited by Ballard an hour to take part in rescue missions of trafficking individuals, only then to be groomed to become physically intimate with the married Ballard as a part of what he called couples ruse, intended to fool traffickers into believing they were romantically involved. The other side of the story is that they literally created a market for child kidnapping, okay? Because the people down there were like, damn, these white boys come over here and they just buy these children off of us. Great. Let's capture more. And then, of course, they bring the kids back and basically create an adoption scheme through churches. Now, I'm no big city lawyer. I don't know what the fuck's going on with that process, but there are many such cases, maybe even high-profile conservative commentators with adopted children. Who knows? I don't know. I actually legitimately don't know if they did an exotic adoption from a church in a similar vein. Bro, you don't support child trafficking? Come on, man. I know you don't. Wait, what? Who are you arguing against? What are you saying? Why are people hallucinating positions? Like, is this the new meta? People are just like literally taking the opposite position of the one that I'm advocating for in an effort to get clipped out of context so they can be like, in an effort to be like, see? The movie is bringing awareness, man. Wait, what? Did you just not? Okay, I can't. That's the Ben Shapiro guy. That's the Ben Shapiro guy. I'm cute and kind.
Why you're upset when the problem doesn't exist? What is this problem?
Why are you okay with minors who are being checked out to people of majority age who then don't check in with the government? Is that okay with you?
I'm okay with minors being checked out to their sponsors who go through background checks, who are usually family members, people that know them. You think it's just some random? You think I can go pick up a undocumented immigrant child right now?
No, but I do know that has happened to tens of thousands of kids in this country.
Oh, really? So you think they're just being released to random people?
They're being released to people who claim that they are relatives, and in many cases they are not necessarily relatives.
How do you know that?
Because they are not checking in for their follow-up appointments.
Oh, because they're not checking in for the voluntary follow-up appointments. So you're assuming the worst. You're assuming they're probably being kidnapped and trafficked.
I'm happy for you that you're assuming the best as to what happens with minor children.
I'm always going to assume the best about my fellow Americans. And of course, if these people are their sponsors and their background checks by these agencies, I'm going to...
Yeah, what, like, Ben's argument is so insane because it basically implies that, like, the federal regulatory agencies are, like, not doing their due diligence in terms of like background checks. Like they're in the pocket of big child kidnapping in a meaningful way. And they're just like letting it thrive. They're letting it rip, folks. Scary stuff.
I'm going to assume the best. Unlike you, that's a weird thing to assume all this weird stuff.
No, actually, what's kind of weird to me is that you assume that anybody who picks up a kid without proper verification and background check doesn't check in for months at a time.
Proper verification and background check?
What do you know about the parents? What do you know about the people who are picking them up? What do you know about the cousins?
I've read that these people go through background checks and they are sponsors, usually family members. You don't sound like you read anything about this. You just have some fantasy you made up about me being able to go pick up an undocumented child. Why don't you and I go try to get one later? We'll see what happens.
I have a question. Where are you possibly coming up with that since I've actually said the opposite?
You want me to name the article? You can go Google it yourself. Maybe you'll learn something.
Which article specifically are you talking about?
Ben, when you get home, go on Google and type in how are undocumented migrants' children released and what is the process. You'll read all about it.
I can read all about it. And one of the things that I've read is that the immigration services in this country have not done proper follow-up.
Well, you read it
on
Gateway Pundit? Or
no,
what?
on Wall Street Journal, at the Department of Justice, in all of the legal claims by the federal government. Yes, this is in the New York Times. Okay,
So I just want to make sure we're on the same page. 300,000 children
do not
being
have
exploited in America now.
That is not the claim.
Okay,
the claim is that the federal government does not know where they are.
Oh,
that is the claim, and that is absolutely valid. Do you know where they are? Do you think the federal government knows where all of them are?
the federal government should be
I have a
tracking
question. Why I think that the federal government has a responsibility to release children who come across the border only to people for whom there is follow-up available. Yes, and I find it very bizarre that you're totally fine with people signing off.
Yeah, because they already did that with the proper background checks ahead of time. No, I saw when he fucking turned around and said, "Whoa, you think we should go and pick up some random immigrant children? See how that goes." I heard, I know. He's cooking his ass. I know. Here.
Read all about it.
I can undocumented. Are you talking about?
Ben, when you get home, go on Google and type in how are undocumented migrants' children released and what is the process. You'll read all about it.
I can read all about it. And one of the things that I've read is that the immigration services in this country have not done proper follow-up.
Well, you read it on Gateway Pundit?
Ooh, the Gateway Pundit. Gateway Pundit drop is mint.
No, on Wall Street Journal, at the Department of Justice, in all of the legal claims by the federal government. Yes, this is in the New York Times. Okay,
So I just want to make sure we're on the same page. 300,000 children
do not
being
have
exploited in America now.
That is not the claim.
Okay,
the claim is that the federal government does not know where they are.
Oh,
that is the claim, and that is absolutely valid. Do you know where they are? Do you think the federal government knows where all of them are?
the federal government should be tracking?
I have a question. I think that the federal government has a responsibility to release children who come across the border only to people for whom there is follow-up available. Yes, and I find it very bizarre that you're totally fine with people signing off on handing over children to people who merely claim to be relatives without any follow-up whatsoever.
Why do you say merely claim? You don't know what that background check is like.
Because usually you should have evidence that is in fact the case.
How do you know it's not?
Why is the assumption that it is?
Your claim is that people are taking out kids like library books and not providing the proper identification and background.
Your lack of concern about what happens to those kids when proper verification and follow-up is not done seems disquieting to me.
Because you guys create fantasy scenarios where things that aren't happening. Are there cases where some children are going to be exploited? Of course, there's tons of people in this country.
So
we're the third
largest
largest country in the world.
So what should we do to stop that?
Well, you sound very passionate about this. Maybe you should write your Congress member and say we should tighten up these laws and make it mandatory instead of voluntary.
In order to do that, one of the things you might want to do, close the border.
The border is closed, Ben.
No, it is certainly not.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
It is certainly not closed.
Do you think
close the border? Then we won't have to deal with migrant children. Okay. Yeah. Ben's argument here makes no fucking sense. Also, the border is literally closed, so it doesn't make extra sense. Having said that, like, I hate whenever these dipshits act like it is actually the humanitarian thing to deny children entry into this country. Dude, what are you saying? Like, you are such a giant piece of shit, okay? Yeah, it's the humanitarian thing not to let these dang Mexicans into the country. That's why we put barbed wire on, like, lifeboats on the Rio Grande River, okay? Because we're doing the humanitarian thing. Like, get the out of here. Who the hell believes you? Nobody. Ben doesn't have time to Google.
The border was closed under Trump?
No, I don't think it was fully closed under Trump.
Oh, so you say Trump failed at closing the border?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Donald Trump should have done more to close the border.
Back in there? He's going to fail again.
Because he did a better job than Joe Biden, who led in.
Ooh, the last two are good. Chat, I know a lot of you are going to get mad, but this is one of the best Jubilee videos I've watched in a long time, okay? Straight up. I think a lot of cooking has occurred here. It's also Ben Shapiro being humiliated and violated over and over again. Like, even though I'm not always the best, even though I'm not always like a massive fan of debate lording or debates in general, this is great.
right. Joe Biden has
6.5 million illegal immigrants.
Joe Biden has the exact same border encounters right now as Trump at the end of his administration.
I have a question.
If Trump was on pace to let in 900,000, if that was the case, a year.
I have a question for you.
Sure.
Why is it that after a president allows in, through pure executive order negligence, having walked back the executive orders that created the policies that you're now I mean, if you want to call it purposeful, call it purposeful. They were, on day one, they reneged on Remain in Mexico. They changed the standards by which asylum was claimed.
Mexico's got to play. It takes two to tango. Mexico didn't want anything to do with Remain in Mexico.
Remain in Mexico was the American policy. It was Joe Biden who walked out on Remain in Mexico.
There's also a small number of people. It's like a couple.
I hate Remain in Mexico. It's such a stupid policy. It was literally, it just undermines the entire humanitarian principle, quote unquote, because you're basically saying that a country that literally has undocumented border crossers in and of itself is a better safe haven for these other people. And the only way to get that country to also be on board with it is because we threatened them. Like a sanctionable country that is afraid of American sanctions is going to be a decent space in terms of humanitarian help that we can afford all these people that are, seeking asylum. It's bullshit, especially when, once again, there is no underlying fundamental problem with migration into the United States of America. This is a nation of immigrants, okay?
Tens of thousands of people.
The unprecedented level of illegal immigration is apparently totally fine with you under Joe Biden.
No, listen, we need more people in this country, Ben. There's no legal means for them to come in that are reasonable. So these people are forced to come in through the...
What do you mean that's not true? Why'd you say we need to have more babies then? It absolutely is true. He's right. He is right. The only reason why we haven't fallen under the same age trap that all of these other developing nations have fallen under is because we have unlimited migration, virtually unlimited migration into this country. That's it. The only issue you have is what they look like, okay? That is why this is white nativist, okay? Inherently, that's it. That's it. You just want more white babies. And there's no mechanism of enforcement. And I guess maybe if you make abortion illegal and then deport every migrant and then make miscegenation illegal again, only then could you possibly try and enforce these demographic goals. It's so stupid. And one must ask the question, why? Why should we do that? What the who gives a
southern border? Because there's no other way.
There are hundreds of thousands of people who come into this country every year legally on visas.
Yes, and that process is difficult. We need a lot more people than hundreds of thousands.
So you're making a case for broadening legal immigration,
yes,
but you are not setting any standard or numbers by which we are supposed to adjudicate whether this is good or bad.
That's not my job. All I know is it's too difficult
so
right
you're not
now.
making an argument at all. You're making an argument that basically we should just legalize everybody who wants to come into the country.
Not at all. I'm fine with the number.
Hold on. You have not set a number. You have not set a standard. You have suggested you're utterly fine with what happens to minors if they are released to adults without proper evidence.
I have not.
You have not suggested that there is no major problem with exploitation.
He's big mad, dude. God damn, he's so upset. Holy shit. By the way, Ben hasn't done any of that either. As a matter of fact, it seems like he's at odds with Donald Trump's policy of mass deportation by 20 million. Like that was a very unique thing that we found out in this debate as well, where Ben openly admitted that he doesn't want to mass deport 20 million undocumented migrants on U.S. soil, which I didn't even know he was against that. He's literally done fundraisers for Donald Trump. Someone should tell him that that's Trump's policy. Perhaps he will be confused and scared and renege his support.
Of children being trafficked over the border.
I'll go with Trump's number, 1 million a year, because that's what he was on pace to let in by the end of his administration. 75,000 a month equals 900,000.
Great. Thank you. Good for you, dude.
Hey, thanks. Tara, to meet you. So I'm just really unclear about what of her policies do you think are bad? Because I'm not sure I heard that yet.
Okay, the revocation. So I think first we have to define what we think her policies are.
Yeah, please do.
Okay, so there is the policy that was implemented under Joe Biden, and then there's the policy that she seems to have adopted over the course of the last 45 to 60 days when she was actually running for president, where she seems to have adopted many of the prior.
That's not true. The policy that she's adopted is the same policy of the Biden administration, which she's the current vice president of, which was implemented more than a year ago when the Biden administration, perhaps in the most foolish way possible, decided to go right wing on developing a bipartisan border bill. Okay. So no, it's not Kamala Harris adopting this border policy randomly. It's Kamala Harris defending Joe Biden's border policy, which, you know, she happens to be a part of that administration. So it's bad policy in general, but I don't think Ben disagrees with it. I think Ben likes that policy. He just doesn't like that Kamala Harris is advocating for it because it kind of cooks him. It kind of cooks his position.
Immigration policies of the Trump administration. So which one do you think is actually her position is sort of the open question about Kamala Harris. I'm assuming that the record of the Biden administration provides a pretty good track record as to what she would do with the border were she made president.
I mean, I think what's really clear that I feel like you've overlooked a lot is that a lot of the things that Joe Biden has done that you don't love are because he first tried to do things the right way through legislation. But Congress won't do it. So I guess my question for you is, what would your plan be for Kamala if not to try to get a law through Congress when Congress won't pass them?
I'm perfectly happy for trying to get a law through Congress, provided I, actually like the law. I mean,
yeah, sure.
But if you're talking about what she could do day one, I mean, she could actually continue to enforce the newfound enthusiasm for border security in the run-up to the election that Joe Biden has now implemented.
Well,
to remain in
setting
Mexico,
aside your
revising asylum, and all the
that.
rest of that.
Setting aside your characterization,
I mean, that's actually what he did.
How? Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
Remain in Mexico,
which is fraught with rape. Remain in Mexico has been found to be really dangerous for the people who are stuck there.
Okay, and it is also a fact of the matter that if you're talking about controlling the border, remain in Mexico is a better way to control the border than simply releasing people into the interior with a come back to court date.
So you feel that would be better than, say, funding border security and related agencies to house those people safely?
It is generally not a matter of funding at the border. It really is not.
Then what is it?
It is a matter of how asylum is actually interpreted. So the way that asylum was interpreted for a long time was that you had to show by a preponderance of the evidence that you actually had a legitimate asylum claim.
That's not that different now. And it's not that different. No.
Yeah.
This claim is over. Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. It's getting good, though.
Okay, now it's about to get really good.
My next claim is the Israel-Hamas war would not have started under Donald Trump. It's good. This process has gotten more conciliatory.
So this is Mohammed
over the course of time.
Okay, so what evidence do you have to support that claim?
Okay, so the latest reports from the New York Times of internal papers from Yahya Sinwar suggested that he was essentially counting on Iranian interference and help with the October 7th attacks, and that was incentivized by the fact that Iran was attempting to forestall any sort of deal between Israel and the Saudi government for Saudi to join the Abraham Accords. It was very well known at the time, and
yeah. Sure, Ben. Yeah, that definitely was gonna happen. They were like, damn, the Abraham Accords were so sick. What a dude. I really want to talk to Ben about, I really want to debate him on Israel Palestine. That is such a idiotic argument to present. If anything, Abraham Accords accelerated the likelihood of an October 7th style attack happening because it completely shut off Palestinians from the conversation, leaving them to recognize that they had no way out of this structure other than to cause as much harm as he possibly can, as much harm as they possibly could, to incur a penalty for 76 years of apartheid. So you are so unimaginably wrong on this. Oh my God.
And I happen to know that the Saudi government was very much ready to join the Abraham.
Like the Saudi government was already dealing with Israel in a positive fashion anyway. Just putting that on paperwork doesn't change the outcome for Palestinian emancipation at all. What kind of stupid argument is this?
If Donald Trump had been reelected, if that had happened, that would have forestalled.
Yeah, dude, it really would have changed the dynamic. It would have really changed the dynamic that like all these Gulf states that already have independent security partnerships with the United States of America, they don't give a single about Palestinians at all for decades at this point, would only solidifying that partnership on paper, changing the dynamic into what? So that a Tel Aviv to Riyadh flight could occur, that was really going to shut down the Palestinian need for emancipation after 76 years of occupation. What a stupid argument. Yeah, dude. Once that direct flight from Riyadh to Tel Aviv happens, it's over, you know? It's over. No more Palestine. All of those Palestinians, okay, 5 million of them, 2.5 in the West Bank, 2.5 in Gaza, they just perish. They go, no! Has this guy ever talked to a Palestinian American? Probably not. The only Palestinian he's talked to is the son of Hamas guy, the Mossad agent.
Hamas action, because the incentive to have done what happened on October 7th would largely have been gone at that point. The entire purpose of that attack was to prevent the formation of a broader Sunni-Israeli alliance in the Middle East.
Do you think...
Ben, how can you have this argument while you simultaneously claim that each individual Arab state still hates Israel? Hamas are Sunni. Iran is Shia. How does that work? Oh no, if Saudi Arabia and the UAE decide to be openly, because they were already in partnership with Israel, but like openly in partnership with Israel, then the broader Sunni-Israeli alliance would completely destroy any sort of emancipatory need for the Palestinians, dude. Imagine supporting terrorism. You guys are all... Dog, you are so off base here. I'm going to tell you right now, okay? I do not support the Saudi government. I do not support the Israeli terror state. And nor do I support America's foreign interventions in the region. I do not support terrorism at whatsoever, okay? If you come in here and reflexively hit that, imagine supporting terrorism, you guys are all... Do you support Hamas? Do you support Israel? Do you support Israel? Do you support Israel? I understand why Hamas exists. Do you support Israel? I support neither. Okay, supporting neither while Israel is doing a genocide is basically just supporting the genocide then. Good job, big brain. I support neither. What's the solution then? Yeah. Meanwhile, Israel's blowing up Beirut, leveling Beirut, destroying Gaza, doing an accelerated version of its genocide in northern Gaza. And he's like, both sides have some flaws. Yeah, dude, I know. Good one. He's not a centrist. Don't say he's a centrist. He is a Israel supporter. He supports Israel. He's just too ashamed to openly admit that. So he tries to do this cowardly thing where he's like, I support neither.
I think the incentive of October 7th was simply Iranian plot.
I think that the Iranians were certainly interested in facilitating the Hamas attacks, and without Iranian support, it would have been very difficult for Hamas
I want to ask you, do you think that the conditions in Gaza in any way factor into October 7th?
I mean, I think that the conditions in Gaza certainly factor into support for Hamas. As far as the specific attack of October 7th as opposed to rocket attacks, the distinction between, for example, continuous rocket attacks that have been happening since 2006 when Hamas took over the Gaza Strip and the wide-scale terror assault of October 7th is sort of a difference in kind.
Now, since 2005, what has Israel done to the Gaza Strip to formulate or allow kind of the otherization of the Palestinian people who live in the Gaza Strip?
Well, I mean, in 2006, Hamas took over, promptly killed everybody who's associated with the Palestinian Authority, has never held an election since, and has...
What happened in that process? Surely America was not involved in it at all, where there was a deliberate mechanism led by the United States, led by the CIA, the Bush administration, to basically forcibly coup after the American government didn't like the election results that, caused Hamas to win the election because they didn't listen to Fatah. They didn't listen to the Palestinian Authority that openly stated that this is not the right time to do an election whatsoever. Yeah, they just went in and they were like, we love murder. Hello, I am Hamas. I love to do murder. I'm going to kill everybody. No, that's not how this happened. That's not how this happened at all. What the fuck are you talking about? They literally nabbed like elected representatives and tortured them in a black site.
Has been running the place with an iron fist.
No, I want to understand now, with an iron fist, is Hamas the one who is putting forth the land, sea, and air blockade in the Gaza Strip?
The land, sea, and air blockade is specifically because Hamas is in control of the Gaza Strip.
Now, I'm confused because...
Wait a minute. That's crazy. But that doesn't make any sense because there was an airport there. There was an airport there. That was before Hamas took over. What happened to that airport? That's interesting. So I guess that preceded the Hamas takeover, but I don't know.
Because if we expect that the October 7th attacks only happened because Iranian influence in the area, I don't see how 17 years of a land, air, sea blockade will happen if that's not a symptom to allowing people basically to pressure cook its way into something like that happen.
Okay, the idea that October 7th was specifically as an incident caused by movement between Hamas and Iran and Hezbollah and coordination between those groups for geopolitical reasons is the claim. If the claim that you're making is that October 7th was sort of an inevitability based on the conditions on the ground in the Gaza Strip, that's not exactly how I think foreign policy works.
Wait, what? That's exactly how it works. What do you mean? If you keep pummeling people relentlessly, yeah, they're going to strike back, especially when you have openly showed them. Why are you scared to debate someone face to face? You seem confident in your argument. Crazy how he told you his opinion. All you say you're lying. What? You think I wouldn't debate Ben Shapiro? Were you not here literally 3 minutes ago when I said I would love to debate Ben Shapiro, especially on the issue of Israel-Palestine, because he is completely, everything he's saying is nonsensical? It shouldn't have to be Ben. Wait, what? Why shouldn't it be? Ben Shapiro is the person that we're talking about. I would love to debate Ben Shapiro, especially on this issue. Ask who he suggests, lol. Yeah, who he suggests is going to be Mr. He's an anti-Zionist now. He's not the only one to debate is the point. Yeah, I know. And then I'll debate someone, and then you'll turn around and be like, well, that guy was stupid. You should debate a smarter person. And then I'll debate them. And then you go, that guy was also stupid. You should debate a smarter person. And we'll just keep playing this song and dance over and over again. You got it.
I'm saying foreign policy works in the sense that you can't ignore the overlying cause of an issue.
Yeah, I've been on Piers Morgan multiple times at this point debating this exact issue, by the way. I guess we forgot about that. I guess I forgot about that too. No, they'll just say you got destroyed no matter what happened. Yeah, I remember that. Remember when I went on Piers Morgan and I thought that like I got a little too heavy-handed with my commentary on Piers Morgan, and then Dvorcelli's entire community like ran the full court press to be like, oh, he got owned. And then TikTok started coming out and everyone was like, that was the coolest thing I've ever seen. Please do that more and more. We love to see that. That was cool. That was fun. That was yet another moment where like people had a different opinion that they in their hug box collectively thought everyone else would see. And then the broader marketplace had a very different perspective on it.
So now when we talk about the Abraham Accords, do you not think that the Palestinian people not involved in the Abraham Accords plays any part into the region remaining unstable, specifically with these two groups of people?
The region got specifically much more stable while Donald Trump was president because of the Abraham Accords.
With again, I don't know how you can go and quantify that when the Palestinian people are not involved. 2023 was the deadliest year for Palestinian children on October 6th, according to a UN report published on October 6th. Now, if we go and keep ignoring the Palestinian problem, then I don't understand how we can continue to act like forging partnerships between Gulf Arab countries is going to promote stability to the region when we're leaving out 2 million people in Gaza and then 2 million people in the West Bank.
It was promoting a lot more stability in the region. For the Saudis, for the Bahrainis, for the UAE.
And then, yeah, October 7th still, you're telling me October 7th still happened because of geopolitical reasons in that area. If the Palestinians are not addressed in the Abraham Accords, why do you think that there was a need for October 7th to happen?
I mean, the reason October 7th happened was specifically because of the confluence of Palestinian desire to put the issue of Palestinians back on the front pages and an Iranian desire to use that as a wedge issue to destroy the Abraham Accords.
Front pages as opposed to what? As opposed to it being silenced through political plays under Donald Trump to promote these Abraham Accords that, again, don't achieve the root issue of the problem. The Palestinian people cannot be left out of the table when it
It almost feels like Donald Trump's actions, especially with the Abraham Accords, was almost a direct reason for why October 7 happened, don't you think, Ben? I like that he's just walking him slowly through the steps of recognition. Also, this is stupid. The Israel-Hamas war would not have started under Donald Trump is a stupid argument because it doesn't matter who it started under. Donald Trump certainly was responsible for a lot of the environment that caused it to happen. But like when it comes to U.S. foreign policy, it is objectively bipartisan. We know this, okay? So I don't know why the Ben is trying to, defend this from a pro-Trump point of view.
It comes to a resolution or an accord dealing with the conflict.
I mean, okay, so the root issue of which problem specifically?
Of the problem, do you agree with the legal settlements in the West Bank?
With the illegal settlements? I mean, so it is...
Do you consider settlements illegal?
No.
Under international law, it's considered illegal.
That is not true.
I mean, the UN and most international foreign bodies have decided that those settlements are legal. Now, do you think that
I
is
think
just
the
a
UN
case
is,
of...
I think the UN is trash. But
So that's what I was
Oh, sorry. What do you mean? The United Nations is trash. Okay, give Israel back then. The f- do you mean? Who created Israel, dog? What do you mean? what are you talking about? That's crazy. He's like, the UN is trash. Good, convincing and sound argument from Ben Shapiro. Okay. Oh, that's awesome.
was going to say is that if the UN is trash, if nobody around this area can be brokered into as a third party, if Israel's not allowing third party investigators to come to the Gaza Strip and determine what's happening there, who can justify, who can have the moral authority in the region and say that this is what's happening, that this is a reason of this, or that putting them towards the backside of the conflict is this reason? I need to understand from you, what's your prescription for the area, for the Palestinian people? Are you like Ben Gvir, who says that there's three options: willful emigration of the Palestinian people, like leave, live under subjugation as a second-class citizen of Israeli rule, or third, die? What's the option?
No, I mean, moderating and then electing a government that is worthy of actually governing its people and not stealing billions of dollars from its people, either the Palestinian Authority, Islamic Jihad, or Hamas, would be an excellent start.
So I need to understand, do you feel like they have the opportunity to do so when they're under the subjugation of 17 years of a blockade by an occupying power? If for 17 years, since the disengagement of Israeli settlements in the Gaza Strip, Israel was able, by the flick of a switch, to turn off the electricity, water supply, and fuel reserves. Right now, we know that in the north of Gaza, up until today, 2 weeks went by where no humanitarian aid was going in. There is no Rafah border anymore. There is no humanitarian going through there. It's been demolished.
Okay.
And then in the other,
it's not true that humanitarian aid is not going in. Actually, just a couple of days.
That literally is true. It was also it also was true when the American State Department actually also arrived at that conclusion independently from every single humanitarian organization and the United Nations that was involved in the process on the ground, when they revealed in a memo to Anthony Blinken that is precisely what was going on, in direct violation of international law and also American law specifically, which Anthony Blinken, of course, just didn't agree with and claimed it wasn't real. What is this? Richie Torres tweeted about me. Oh, you know, that's some ADL ass dog shit right there. Richie Torres, you're a FARA violator. What is this? It's a 17-second clip from behind the block. The leading streamer on Twitch, Hasan Piker, is an apologist for sexual violence on October 7th. This is, oh God. It doesn't matter if rape happened on October 7th. It doesn't change the dynamic for me. Hasan declares before finally admitting that Palestinian resistance is not perfect. A social media influencer openly defends rape and mass murder. Wait, what? What did I say in the 17 seconds before this, in this 140p clip that you found, dumbass? I'm saying that it most likely did happen, but that doesn't change the dynamic of the genocide. That's correct. I wonder if I could just can I sue a sitting congressperson? Oh, it's his personal account. I wonder if it's different. Let me see this clip. Doesn't matter if rapes happen on October 7th. That doesn't change the dynamic for me even this much. So that's the other part of this problem that many people can't contend with. The Palestinian resistance is not perfect. Wait, he clip-chimped me while I was literally talking about rapes most likely happening on October 7th? Wait, my argument literally was, yes, rapes most likely happened on October 7th, and that doesn't justify genocide of an entire people. What is he saying? He included the absolving part of the clip. He's not calling you a denialist. He's calling you an apologist. A social media influencer openly defends the rape and mass murder of Jews. Mass murder of Jews not only accepted but celebrated in our society. What does this reveal about the depth of anti-Semitism in the American soul? If America believes Jewish lives matter, then America should stop popularizing influencers who popularize anti-Semitism. Wait, what? Why concede that with no proof? Because there is virtually zero way for me to deny it. Sexual violence is a commonplace aspect of all types of conflict. It's just something that does happen. There is no control over who got in to Israel once the boundary was penetrated. There were criminal elements that also went in. So, of course, I'm not going to just like wholesale deny the likelihood of something like this occurring, which is ironic because that's precisely what I was responding to when a chatter said that, most likely. And that's precisely what they are clipping out of context. That's crazy. Yes, mass systemic rape coordinated by Hamas, as far as we know, it has no verifiable evidence for it whatsoever. This does not mean that, what is this? Hassan never denied rape occurring. What he said. Listen carefully to what he says. For the record, this does not mean that no sexual violence occurred on October 7th. It does not mean that at all. As I've said, there is a likelihood that sexual assault may have occurred on October 7th. However, this report does not prove that. He went through the entire report line by line. The UN found at least 5 credible claims, but sadly no physical evidence could be recovered. Hassan simply said that 5 instances was much less than what was initially claimed, which was systematic mass rapes. But how can they say this when RDF soldiers literally did the same thing, yet Israel is innocent to them? Is so hypocritical? Yes, because Israel's enemies are not humans. That's it. They don't consider Israel's enemies to be human beings. There's a double standard. That's the entire point of this process. That's the entire problem here. I want to find the OG video where I'm talking about it because like it's very obvious that I'm most likely responding to a chatter. I'm most likely responding to a chatter who was like, why are you saying that rapes happen when there's not enough evidence or whatever is most likely what's going on. Because one, there is no evidence whatsoever for one. It is completely and utterly made up. But there is a likelihood for the other and also evidence as far as firsthand testimony from a hostage. Yeah. Here I'm responding to a chatter. How do you dismiss accounts of kerosene and burning, but do not dismiss sexual violence? I dismiss the accounts of kerosene and burning because there's no evidence for that happening, but do not dismiss sexual violence. I don't dismiss sexual violence because there is evidence of that happening. This is quite literally me arguing with a chatter on the likelihood of sexual assaults happening on October 7, or not even October 7, but since then. They clipped me arguing that there is evidence for sexual assault under Hamas, the UN report showed that there was one verifiable direct victim of sexual assaults from a Hamas militant. There was one. There was direct personal testimony. That is correct. I am not in the business of denying atrocities happening. Okay? I am looking through the information that is being delivered to me with honesty. So, ironically enough, I am literally having a conversation with a chatter who is saying like, why are you, not dismissing the acts of sexual violence? And I'm describing to them that there is a likelihood that it happened and there is direct evidence for it happening, at least in the UN report. That's the difference. The accounting being conducted on October 7, this has muddied the waters so much that understandably many people are like, what the fuck? How am I going to believe this? How am I supposed to believe anything that Israel says? There's a perfectly valid criticism to have against the state that has lied every single step of the way. Many hostages have records of saying 2 different things. Also, how are you sure Israel didn't force them to lie? That's ridiculous. By the way, none of which justifies Israel's actions. So it doesn't even matter. None of this justifies that Palestinians have a right to dignity, a right to emancipation, a right to live free lives, free from this occupation. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if rapes happen on October 7. Like, that doesn't change the dynamic for me even this much. Wow, I wonder why they clipped the beginning. So let's see. That's the other part of this problem that many people can't contend with. Like, the Palestinian resistance is not perfect. They're not like so good. They have magical bullets, and there's no criminal elements that could have conducted themselves very differently. Like that doesn't change the dynamic for me at all. It's so stupid to act like, no, they're perfect. They were perfect on October 7, and they were conducted themselves perfectly. Yeah. What's the, like, they are not perfect victims at all. This sucks, to be honest. Wait, what do you mean this sucks? My argument sucks? You think it justifies genocide? What are you, stupid? This is me recognizing that there were atrocities that took place on October 7 in the hands of both the Palestinian militancy and also criminal elements that escaped the Gaza boundary. The f are you talking about? I'm saying, yeah, they did a bunch of heinous shit. That still does not justify genocide. I don't think he means the situation, but I don't know. Maybe they meant the situation sucks. What sucks is having a 3-minute ad break at the top of the hour for those who are unsubscribed. No, the UN report does have direct evidence. It was not circumstantial at best. No, many of the claims were just basically a rehashing of the screams without violence stuff or screams without word stuff from the New York Times, which have mostly been discredited, like directly discredited or are circumstantial. There are some pieces of evidence that are circumstantial, and then there is one claim that is a direct victim. Okay, there is one victim testimony. Okay, I can't even ratio Richie Torres on Twitter because he blocked me like the coward that he is, which sucks extra hard. But yeah, it is funny. I feel like the more you address the clip chimps, the more the clip chimps get. Yeah, except they've literally, the more I address it, the shorter the clips get and the more deep fried they get, which is crazy. It's not on his government account. It's on his private account. Yeah, the next clip is just going to be 1 second long. Okay, we wave a magic wand and Israel's occupation and apartheid ends overnight in a total ceasefire. Do you believe the Hamas will release the remaining hostages and completely desist from all violence? Yes, I do. What's the counter to that? What, you think that they just like having hostages? Like the ones that are still alive? Yeah, they would. Why wouldn't they? If there are any hostages that remain at this point that haven't been murdered by the state of Israel. Anyway, does he still use his private account for government acts? I mean, I think Richie Torres is a FARA violator, for the record. Oh, he posted it on his Instagram too? That's funny. What an idiot, dude. Dude, deal with your constituents, man. What are you doing? Like, what the kind of obsessive, nonsensical behavior is this? No counter, just genuinely interested in your thought. What does a win-win look like in your mind? Win-win? End the occupation, end the apartheid, allow Palestinians to return, and create a singular nation state where everyone has equal rights and equal representation. At 37:30, you mentioned sexual violence was likely on October 7th.
We don't know anything. They've been in
likelihood that sexual violence is a common occurrence in war and in situations like what happened on October 7, and that there is a likelihood that sexual violence did occur on October 7. However, this conversation is not about the likelihood of sexual violence occurring, but rather the investigation, or rather lack thereof, into sexual violence occurring, a proper investigation into sexual violence occurring, and a lack of forensic evidence and a lack of evidence in general. I just want to point that out so that people don't misunderstand. Or Varlo defending you in the replies. You posted a clip in which Hassan is saying rapes did happen, but it doesn't justify the genocide. Why did you cut the context? Is AIPAC is paying you to lie to voters and paying you to lie on Twitter? I just don't like. I think Richie Torres 100%. Like I am very suspicious about Richie Torres. That's all I'm going to say, because he cares to a very weird degree about this stuff and not his own personal constituents. Like, I don't know what the fuck is going on. Like, he'll turn around and say like, oh, because I care about anti-Semitism, but like, this isn't caring about anti-Semitism. If you cared about anti-Semitism, you wouldn't be like clipping a Twitch streamer out of context and like posting about him claiming that I'm being anti-Semitic. Like, that's so crazy. It's 17 seconds. Are you that stupid that you didn't like check? Like, you didn't even go, let me look at this real quick. That's insane. Let me see what I can do. Problem is, everyone and anyone that I could talk to about this is probably blocked by Richie Torres. And this one, I think, is his official government Instagram, for the record. I don't think this is his, I don't think this is actually his pro-Israel recipients. 1,274,644. Your Uncle Sam Cedar will be very, very upset to hear this from Richie. That's interesting. Watch him delete it now, Lamau. Maybe they're trying to gear up to ban you. Yeah. Oh, this is his government account. Never mind. Richie Torres, New York 15 is not his government account. I'm confused. How does this help the people in his district? It's good to have these receipts in broad daylight. I do see a massive campaign to get you banned before November 4th. This wild. Yeah. It's so gross to like use a clip of me literally openly defending, like openly arguing with a chatter that said, how could you say that how could you say that no rapes happened, to make it seem like I'm pro Israelis being raped. Like, what a gross person. Like, you're a goddamn elected representative. Like, what the are we doing, dude? 17-second clip? Like, are you insane? Deep fried 17-second clip? I'm honored that Richie Torres used the clip I made. This is actually insane. It's not as bad as like the 9/11 stuff, but it's certainly pretty bad. It's crazy because you haven't done anything bannable recently anyway. Like, if you get banned, that'll just mean public institutional pressure works on Twitch moderation. Yeah, but it does. Can you sue to end the era of clip chimping, please? No, it doesn't work that way. Like, there's nothing you can really do about it. People just yell. You just let it go. People yell into the void for the most part. All right, let's get back.
Just a couple of days ago, because since October 1st, there was no aid going to the northern part of Gaza.
Because there are ongoing anti-terror operations in the north of Gaza.
So does that mean that the civilians who are in the northern Gaza are not subject to humanitarian aid because there's a military action by an occupying force?
It means that there's no actual excellent way of distributing that aid. This has been a major problem with the humanitarian aid throughout. The last time they sent 100 trucks, this is what I was going to mention, they sent 100 trucks of humanitarian aid in just a couple of days ago.
Before October 7th, 500 trucks were needed to sustain life in Gaza. 100 trucks were supposed to say thank you.
At least half of the aid is being stolen by Hamas and then resold at higher prices.
I need you to understand that almost every international humanitarian rights group says that this humanitarian crisis is man-made. It is man-made.
I agree that it's man-made.
And I know who you think the man is.
Yes.
I'm telling you, there's only...
It's not Hamas. Wait, does Hamas have any agency here at all?
I'm telling you that right now, if you want fair...
Do the Palestinians have any agency here at all?
The Palestinians absolutely have agency, but again, with an occupying force, what does the agency limit to? If a Gaza fisherman can't go 6 miles past the nautical line that Israel has arbitrarily placed, what agency is there to
Why do you think that Israel placed that line?
Again, that's what I'm telling you, is that how
Just
do you
for fun
expect...
or what? Do you think Israel wants soldiers in the Gaza Strip?
Again, here's the thing. I know that high-level cabinet members in the Israeli government right now is saying that we're going to resettle in Gaza. That this is the plan. That we're not going to release
position in the Israel.
If I get banned, I'll go on YouTube. Chat, calm down, okay? Like, I'm not gonna stop streaming, okay? I don't think I'll get banned anyway. It would be ridiculous for me to get banned because like someone clipped a 17-second clip from 6 months ago where I'm arguing the exact opposite position that they claim I'm arguing. It's ridiculous. I mean, there is no, like I said, there is no end to the pit of despair. All right? There is no end to it. And they'll just keep up the pressure until it fizzles out. There's an election coming up in literally 12 days. And this is what a congressperson is like worrying about. How deeply unserious. To be honest, I'm surprised it took this long to do a major hate campaign. No, it hasn't ever stopped. What are you talking about? The only difference now is that like Ethan is involved. What are you talking about? If it's a bunch of Groiper Nazi adjacent losers doing this shit, it doesn't fucking matter. When it's actually a massive content creator with a relatively progressive audience that has been around for 10 plus years, that's also now making these exact slanderous claims, it's going to be a lot more, I guess. He's lost credibility lately, though. It doesn't matter. He's lost credibility in the public eye, but we're talking about institutional credibility. Institutional credibility is very different than institutional credibility is different than the public eye. Or is Ethan behind this? No, I'm not saying it's Ethan behind it. It's not Ethan that is directly behind it. I'm saying that like the dynamic is different now because Ethan is also saying it. Yeah, and they got the ADL to take a look at it too. Not gonna lie, if I was in your position, I'd have a huge ego knowing that people are actively trying to ruin my stream while knowing I have nothing to hide. No, it doesn't. It doesn't work that way. It's still dog shit. I don't want any of this to happen. I just want them to leave me alone. Link me the Hasanabi Productions tweet and I'll retweet it. Maybe the one case where drama freaks in this chat should find evidence, and I hate drama freaks in this chat. Yeah, I mean, compile everything that you see, but it's more so like a mass letter writing campaign that stuck, that like got ADL. Here. You deliberately lied and cut out the part where he says rapes did happen, but it doesn't justify the genocide. Not only that, but it's like I'm arguing with someone who's saying their goal is to either get you to quit streaming or to get you banned from everything. They're even pressuring people who collaborated with you like Maya and harassing you. It started immediately after the whole Asman thing. They won't stop at any point until they make you stop. Yeah, the problem is the more they do this, the more stubborn I get. So it's not, this doesn't change my convictions. And more importantly, it doesn't change the truth of the matter. They send direct messages. They send direct messages to fans all day, every day. They try to make it like as toxic as possible to collaborate with me and shit like that. But it doesn't matter, We broke the link. What do you mean? Broke what link? Go slap a context note under Richie Torres's tweet if you can. Because it's like that's the other ridiculous shit. Little bro watch himself in clips of himself. Yeah. Richie Torres is insane. I mean, he is a psychopath. New York Representative Richie Torres doxes college teacher for mentioning Israel genocide in class. Like he is vicious. Monster. It worries me because the TwitchCon panel got banned even with the context. I know. Anyway, all right. I'll get back. This is 9 hours today, dude. I'm tired. I'll get back. I'll finish the Jubilee video tomorrow. We'll do the Israel-Palestine section on the Jubilee video tomorrow because it seems like, dude, it's just, I can't finish it. It's too long. But you already expected that because it's a 1 hour and 40 minute banger. Banger after banger. Anyway, love you guys, and I'll see you tomorrow. All right?